I wanted to talk about finding and keeping good people, right? And that's my title for today, and the topics I want to talk about, particularly because all my clients seem to be finding it hard at the moment to find and keep good people. So all the ones who are looking to grow, finding it hard to, finding it hard to find and attract good applicants to jobs. So, you know, in the old days, it was kind of easy, wasn't it? Morning, Miriam.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Starting. So that was great timing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm just starting the intro. So the point of today, right? So today is the second or third one I've done of a new sort of quarterly workshop that I run. Okay, and it's part of my business coaching from my coach. It's part of learning how to do the group coaching differently and better. He calls these intensives. Might call them intensives. Might try and think of a name that sounds a bit like a tool shed or something. Because that's funny. Right, but the idea is we're gonna stick to a topic and dig quite deep and get you to do some actual things. So it's a workshop, not just teaching, not just lectures. I'm going to ask you to do stuff and make decisions about things in your business. And today's about finding and keeping good people, prompted by a couple of things. Prompted by my personal experience lately that everyone's finding it hard to find good people. Right, so everyone who's been trying to hire people hasn't found it easy, like in the old days perhaps it was. You know, in the old days, and perhaps in our popular imagination, you want to hire somebody, and you write a little ad, you pop it on Seek or in the paper or something, and you get bucket loads of applicants, and you filter through them and pick some of the good ones, right? Or people are kind of knocking on the door, asking for jobs quite often. And that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment, right? You know, people are putting ads out and not really getting any applicants, or not really getting any decent ones. They're only getting the idiots. There's a few things going on, right? You know, in Australia at the moment, we consider to have full employment. So the unemployment rate is below 4% or something. And they consider that everyone's fully employed. Everyone who wants to be working is or can be. Which means, you know, it's harder to find people who want a job, right? If everyone who wants a job's already got one, it's harder for you to find them. And that seems true based on my experiences of talking to my clients, which granted is only 25 people, but everyone seems to be finding it quite hard. So there's that, right? And then there's also the Great Resignation. Have you heard of the Great Resignation? No? Did you say you have, Miriam? Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
No? Jeremy says no.
I can't hardly.
Can't hardly hear you, okay. Might do that. Is that better? Mim closer?
Yeah.
Mim says I've gone silent.
Maybe it's me. I can't. I just really quiet.
Oh, Mim says I've gone silent too. Oh, shit. This is no good. Let me do this.
Sorry, I can hear you now, John.
Oh, you can?
I can hear the sound now. Something happened with my connection, I think.
Okay.
I'm all good. Yeah.
Jeremy, can you hear me?
Not loud. Must have something going on here, mate.
Yeah, it must be at your end, yeah.
Yeah. I'll play around with this and while.
Yeah, turn me up. I'll try and shout. Morning, Haley. Okay, so what I was saying was the Great Resignation is a phenomenon they're talking about at the moment, where people seem to be resigning their jobs, right? It's particularly in America, it's particularly post-COVID, post-lockdowns, and it seems to be mostly white-collar workers in offices making long commutes into cities. You know, they've been at home for a while and they're realizing that going to work is a bit shit. and they're forecasting it coming to Australia. Still mostly for knowledge workers, white collar workers in the cities, I think. But it might spill over into this industry as well, into the trades industry. I don't think it's too bad for us. I think most trades businesses aren't in the city, bringing people in on long commutes. You're all quite local. You hire people locally as much as you can, and you work locally as much as you can. So I don't think it's going to be as bad for trades, but we should be on the lookout, right? I think also there's no young backpacker types about, which used to be part of the pool of ready workers, particularly for trades, particularly for seasonal work, particularly for trades who are picking up, busy in the summer. You can pick up backpackers and the like, right? Qualified backpackers, even. So I think that pool of people's gone. So there's two things going on, right? There's fewer people looking for work, and a smaller pool of people, suitable people for you guys to draw from when you're hiring. So I'm gonna talk about a few things, right? I'm gonna say it's harder to find people, and you're gonna have to work harder to find the good ones, and particularly you guys, because you're all on like a growth path, right? You're wanting to grow, so you're gonna have to be hiring. So that's difficult for you. So you're gonna have to work harder, and I think it's important to put more effort into keeping hold of your people as well. Because if you churn through people and you don't, you're not a good employer, or they don't enjoy it there, and you start losing people faster than you should, then that compounds the problem. Helen says she resigned her job. You did, didn't you? Michelle's wanting to resign her job too, my partner. So I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to talk today about finding good people, and I'll talk a little bit about the process I use and teach you guys for how to find people. I'm going to talk about this guy, Patrick from BizPal in America, who has a special system for trying to attract good applicants. He uses Facebook advertising, which I've talked about before. So he's sent me a video, which I'll share with you today, which is about how his system for hiring people using the Facebook ads, how it works and how it can be useful to you, how it can help you get access to potential candidates who aren't necessarily looking for a job. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? If no one's looking for a job and you put an ad on Seek, who sees it? If no one's looking, no one's going to go on to Seek to see it, right? But if we can put a sexy job ad on Facebook that people will see because they're on Facebook, then you get access to the people who aren't necessarily looking but might be tempted by your fun, interesting job. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about what motivates people at work, and we'll do a little bit of work on how to make sure that the jobs you give people are as good as they can be, and that as employers and as places to work, your businesses are as good as they can be, so that you keep people, so that they want to stay, and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we'll talk about motivation and culture. I'm going to try and get you all to write a cultural plan. How do you feel about that? We've lost Jeremy altogether. He's probably trying to log back in, isn't he? Grumpily. He was grumpy before we started, he said. Okay, so talking about finding people in a market where there are fewer people looking for work, I think I'll jump straight into this. I'll do a few things. Let's think about how to make your jobs good. Right? I'm going to show you Patrick's video shortly, I think. But now let me do this. Okay. So I'll talk about the hiring process, and I'll talk in particular about getting the message out to more of these people. Okay. So the old way of hiring is, like I said, to write an ad, usually a fairly basic ad, isn't it? That's what most of us write. A job ad seems to be a fairly basic thing. So you know how adverts for you to buy something are quite sexed up, aren't they? You know, it's the best thing ever. You know, when you're selling a house or something, you really talk it up. And yet when we're hiring somebody, we don't do that at all. If anything, we talk it down, don't we? You know, I still see now on see ads that say things like plumber required, you know, 37 an hour. And that's kind of it, right? And the area. And they're not very exciting. In fact, let's do it. I'll share my screen and let's do it. If you can see yourselves when I do this, I apologize. Do we do plumber? Gold Coast. Yeah. Maintenance plumber, national plumbing. Great working environment, because that's exciting, isn't it? You see what I mean? This is the kind of bullshit we do. This is the kind of bullshit we write. Growing company, this is trying a little bit harder, isn't it? But still not really, right? Growing company, a long pipeline of contracted work, great work-life balance with an early finish every Friday, plus get a monthly RDO. That's a bit more like it, isn't it? Right, because that's quite appealing. Monthly RDO, all right. So that's the kind of thing I want to talk to you about, right? I want you to do two things this morning. I want you to think about the jobs you advertise, and then I want you to think about what your ads are like. Okay, so instead of writing maintenance plumber, fencer required, I see some of these awful job adverts sometimes, right? And particularly on Facebook when people are advertising in the groups, and they say things like, I want 3 plumbers. No idiots required. If you like getting up late and you can't commit to getting in on time, don't bother applying. And I think, I bet you don't get any applicants at all, do you, mate? From that, except for a load of comments from people who think you're a fuckwit. So let's remember that, you know, if you want to attract decent people, you've got to, one, write a nice ad that's attractive, and two, have a nice job that's attractive. So I think in our market, I think the power has shifted a bit from the employer to the employee, particularly with you know, the end of lockdowns and things. So if you want good people, you're going to have to work a bit harder. See, they all very much feel like the employer here has the power, don't they? Do you see any of those that say you're really going to like working with them? Apart from that one that said there was RDOs. Right? So that's where I'm heading, right? Most of the job ads are shit. Let's think about how to write a good one. And Patrick, in his training, it's a 20-minute video. He's going to talk about writing a sexed up ad and being appealing. But before we do that, before I get you to watch that, I want you to think about what's good about working for you. So can we start with that as an exercise? Think about what's good about in your business. I want to workshop this and share it, right? So we can all help each other. I'm going to start. Watch this, guys. I learned a new thing. Can you see this? You're supposed to applaud me for having figured out how to write on an iPad. Well done, John. So let's have a think. Let's brainstorm this a little bit, right? What's good about working for your business? Because we can't just say great working environment, great culture, interesting job, can we? Because that's boring. No one's going to be interested in that shit. So, you know, I know all three of you are nice people and nice employers and try to care about your staff. So how do we communicate that to them? Me too, right? I feel the same. So I'll start, all right? For me, everybody works from home. So for John, we'll just brainstorm them, right? Everybody works from home, and the jobs are fully mobile, so you can basically live where you like, right? You can. The job's very flexible for you. You work from home. You can move and keep your job. You know, Lindsay in particular has moved from Byron Bay to Sydney. Then she's moved from Sydney to Miami in America. Then she's moved back to Sydney, and now she's in Byron Bay. And all the while, she's been able to keep the job. So that's good, right? It's flexible. I'm going to make you say something. You know, you have to volunteer something. You better start thinking. I'll help Hayley out.
I was going to say, like we pay higher rates than, I don't know what the terminology is, because I don't want to say above award, because they're very low rates.
Above market?
Yeah, above market rates, maybe. Because I know particularly for Nick, for us, we just like to keep our vision is to keep the people we bring on long term, because we want them to grow with the business and, to build that trust and loyalty with them. So I know Nick's very big on kind of incentivizing that with paying people a little bit more to, show them that we kind of value their presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Hang on. So that's quite a good, strong statement, right?
Mm.
You pay a bit more than the market, then they'll get in other places, and that it's because you want to show them they're valued and keep them long term and and let them grow with the business.
Yeah.
It's quite a difficult thing to communicate, I think.
Yeah.
But so we might come back to that, to how to communicate it, but it's certainly a very powerful thing to say.
Yeah.
If you can persuade people that that's what they get here, they're going to feel a lot more attracted to working with you than an ordinary job, right?
Mm.
And I think that's part of the problem we've got here, that it's difficult to communicate that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So well above award rates or something to say, if you want to.
Yeah, or
well above, yeah.
Look, I don't mind more than the market. We have to probably write longhand, like the whole statement. We'll pay you more than what you'd get elsewhere because we want to keep you long term and want to have you grow with the business.
Yeah, well, maybe what do you think about the word investment? Like that, we want to make an investment in you or something to, show you that we appreciate long-term commitment or something.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's keep brainstorming what makes you a good place to work, and then we'll think about what to write in a job ad.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll get bogged in. That's two processes, if you see what I mean.
Sure.
I always like one process at a time because I'm a simple person. And I find if I try and do two processes, I get confused. So let's stick to one for a minute. So you invest in them long term, and that to me means you train them.
Mm.
And I've spoken to people who said, that they don't want to invest in them too much because they only go and leave anyway.
Yeah.
Right, and which obviously is a mistake to think like that, because if you don't invest in them, they certainly leave. And the old adage goes, what if you don't invest in them and they stay, right? And this is
the nature of business. The best isn't that you've got to invest in your employees. If you're going to take them on, you've got to be prepared to put everything into them. And if they leave, you've got to move on to the next.
It's just the risk of it, isn't it? Yeah, that's the deal, right? We've all done it. We've all worked in a job and then left to go and pursue our life or whatever. Hey, May. Morning, Grant. May, you're hiding behind my screen. I've just moved my screen so I can see you there.
So what about a varied, lots of different jobs?
Yeah.
So
Different
opportunity,
styles of work,
yeah, opportunity to do
Right.
bespoke and
bespoke
be creative.
Hmm.
for us. Anyway, that's what we can do.
What does your what service does your business offer?
Fencing.
Fencing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry, it's back to front in my view, but yes, I see.
Yeah. Me too.
So we do fencing, screening, commercial, domestic, sliding gates, automation. We fabricate a lot of stuff on site, a lot of bespoke, gates and whatnot.
I want to spend a bit of time on this because you made a good point, Grant. That a lot of jobs are boring,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of tradespeople get boring jobs, boring, repetitive, doing the same shit jobs, especially in a bigger company. And you guys, all of you aren't really boring jobs. So for all of you, I think it's something we can make a bit of. We can talk about how the job's not boring or the job's interesting. You won't be bored. You'll be in different places. You'll be doing different stuff. You'll be challenged and learning. Like, that's important, right? My friend's a bricklayer. He says that's a boring job.
Yeah. It's very repetitive, isn't it? Yeah.
It's very repetitive. There's not much change, right? Once you've got your flat base, you're just putting more bricks on.
Hard job. Must be very hard to do that.
And like fencing sounds boring, but we've got to kind of attract people from outside. There's not that many fencers around. So we're trying to attract people that might be a carpenter or in some other business. So we've got to make it sound really, got to explain what it is and how it can be really interesting and can be a really good job to work on.
Well, should we dig into why? For all of the three over here, right? So we can do like individual work on each of your businesses and actually write stuff down about why fencing is an interesting job and about why landscape gardening is an interesting job and construction electrical work is an interesting job. So let's do it. Let me bullshit a bit because I like to bullshit, and then you can tell me why it's really interesting. Like from fencing, right? You're out in the world. I imagine that's quite nice. You're out in gardens, which are usually nice places to be.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that. Let me do a new page. You're outdoors in gardens. So it's a nice working environment, right? It feels to me like putting up fence. I just had a fence put up, by the way, in my garden. And they look like they worked quite hard, but it looked quite pleasant. It's not very dirty, is it?
It's physical and it's dirty. It can be quite
Dirty.
dirty. It can be a lot of digging of holes and things, and
Clearing of bushes and spiders and snakes and, especially the residential stuff where you're demolishing the old fence, it could be covered in vines, trees, bushes, pot plants.
Okay, so we shouldn't say clean. I shouldn't get excited about it being clean.
no.
The screening and the balustrading and the sliding gates out the front of the house is often cleaner, is always usually cleaner.
And more interesting. You get to finish a job and see it within a day or 2 days. You might see a completed job that makes the house look fantastic.
Around the glass fence around the swimming pool.
Okay, no, that's good. Then finish the job and see the results. That's kind of a nice thing we can say. What else? I mean, it's varied, right? Because there's different types of fencing.
Well, you've got to be creative. You have to be kind of, you've got to fit it into the space. It doesn't always, you've got to use kind of creativity to make it work.
But do your fencers do that? I'm thinking for a fencer now, an installer, not so much for the estimators or...
Do they have to be creative?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, that's a problem solved.
Yeah.
The fencers do, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There might be a difficult step down that they've got to work out, what they're going to do, how they're going to make it look. It's got to look aesthetically pleasing to everybody, really.
I guess it's sort of like an architect and a builder, you know, like an estimator and installer. The estimators or architects might have some grand idea, but when they actually get there to do it, it kind of always doesn't go that way. So they have to sort of work out what they're going to do so they can take ownership in that side of it, the actual bringing it to life side of it.
Communicating that with the customer. So we've got to have communication skills. Sometimes they might have to get the customer out and, you know, tell them, show them how it's going to go, how it's going to look. So you've got to be able to communicate.
Yeah, so they work with customers. That's people like that. That's the thing, isn't it? That you get to chat to people and meet people and you know, generally have social interaction.
Yeah, I think so.
The sites are often quick, so they're often changing locations quickly. They're not stuck in one site for too long.
They might be out the back of Burke one day and then right in the beachside suburb, putting in a nice glass wall fence. And so yeah, they get to move around a lot. So I mean, I find that interesting. It's not like a carpenter where you might be building a house, you could be there for months.
Well, I knew a carpenter, or coached a carpenter for a while, who did the frames for project homes.
Yeah.
Well, I rather thought that was quite repetitive and quite fucking hard. You know, you had to work fast and smash up frames, and it was a bit of a punish, I think.
That's what Glenn used to do.
Sorry?
That's what Glenn used to do.
Yeah, okay. Well, I imagine that's difficult, right?
Yeah.
And then, all right, well, here's one for you. Go and talk to Glenn and get him to compare fencing to, you know, the work he's done in the past.
Yeah.
Pick his brains a bit.
Yeah, he likes it.
Yeah.
He likes
So,
it.
we need to. I think that's the key, right? Let's understand what's nice about it, what people like about it, so that you can tell them in the job ads. Let's do the same with Mim's business now, which is landscaping.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of parallels, I think, between what we just identified for the fencing business. Yeah. So we're obviously, I think, sorry, specifically we're talking to our site team, so the team of people on site working.
I think so. We're thinking about that
projects, yeah, because that's kind of our core need.
That's the obvious one for me.
Yeah. So, working outdoors in gardens, you know, bringing projects to life. We do the design part of it too. So it really is, there is problem solving. We're definitely bringing the project to life. We're definitely working off plans and, you know, having to make changes on the spot or work around hurdles that might present themselves on site, subsurface. You know, there's lots and lots of ways to troubleshoot and problem solve every day. They work very closely and intimately with clients because we're mainly residential, so we're in, you know, somebody's space in their home. So I guess, you know, what we're trying to target that, you know, bespoke, like reasonably high-end project. So there is a lot of, you know, interesting applications and materials, or, you know, I guess there's some career development there for somebody who is a qualified landscaper to have some pretty interesting experience with us. You know, using materials to create interesting looking shapes or objects in gardens, the way that we apply those.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
maybe.
probably the area that we're in is beautiful, intrinsically beautiful anyway, but we're often on quite lovely properties and, you know, it's generally quite a nice environment to work in. We're not often on kind of big commercial concrete jungle type sites. So, I think for somebody that likes to be outdoors, that might feel very grounding for somebody to, you know, to work in that environment every day.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So if we're writing job ads for both of you, we're saying quite similar things, aren't we, really? And I think, you know, I think the lesson is we want to learn how to articulate that in our ads so that we attract the people who are going to enjoy this stuff.
And actually, that note you put at the end, artistic flair required, makes me think of the need for people that have a real eye for detail. And I know having an eye for detail is such a generic thing that you see on lots of job ads on Seek. But we quite literally do, you know, like, so if there's a better way to express that, I think that's a really key thing that we need in our workers, you know, to
That's different. I think at the moment I'm trying to think about what's nice about it.
Okay, yeah.
Rather than
Sure.
what we want them to be like, because that's the attributes, that's the standard hiring process, which I'll talk through again anyway. But,
right.
All right, let me move on. Let me move on to Helen.
Just give me, sorry, we've got a trade here fixing my study that got flooded. So there's just a bit of noise. I'm just going to shut the door. Sorry, 2 seconds. He did it for me of all days.
Always the way, isn't it?
Yeah. Finally, though, 6 weeks later.
So you guys are construction electricians working on fancy houses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so there's a little bit in parallel there, right? Fancy houses, nice houses. You're making cool stuff. I know. I spoke to Ben not long ago, and he was on a job site, and he got his camera. He took the camera out or the laptop or whatever, and walked around, showing me the place. And there was, you know, this is a 3 or 4 story home with a view of the ocean. They were installing a lift. Like it was cool, you know. He showed me around, and I was like, oh, okay. So there's that kind of fun to be had, right? You're doing cool shit, which is a bit like what both of you two said as well, right? You're in beautiful houses, enjoying in a kind of an appealing environment. Yeah.
So some of the things I was just jotting down as you guys were talking, because it is quite similar. If you're a business that does sort of a little bit high end or not run of the mill, and you've got yourself into that niche market and people respect that work and are happy to pay for it, I think it's the values that are similar. I think when you're running the business, you want your staff to be happy, you definitely want your customers to be happy. So yeah, I just sort of jot a few things down that, you know, we value our people, which we certainly do. We have them well presented, you know, supply all the uniforms and sign written vehicles and things. We have values.
And think about how we can value our people specifically. Because you all do, I think we all do. But how do we should document that stuff. I'll come back. That's probably this afternoon's a little bit, the cultural plan. I'll come back to that. But,
well, I think if we were to write a job ad, I'd be asking for a team leader who'd be working with enthusiastic apprentices, with the boss or, you know, Ben, the manager, willing to teach and guide you our way of neat, precise, high-end work. Because we don't just want anybody applying when we do finally advertise for an A grade. We don't just want someone who's come off, no offence, but like, you know, a bulk builder home who's had no experience in solar data, and that's going to be a big ask. We understand that, so Ben's going to have to train them and guide them with our way of how we do things.
Okay, so there's the thing. It's a technology. Well, there's lots of technology, right? There's lots of interesting technology for them to play with, isn't there?
Yeah.
Right. I write lots of interesting stuff because that's as much as I know about electrical stuff.
Yeah.
But you're doing data cabling, and you've got security stuff, and you've got solar, and you've got lifts and shit like that. And you know,
floating TVs above pools, all that fun stuff.
Above pools, that's right.
Yeah.
So you see where we're heading, right? We're thinking about figuring out what's kind of interesting and fun about the job, and we're going to say that in the ad. Now let's talk about something else as well. Let's talk about the conditions, which was something you were starting to talk about here, you know. How do you look after everybody here? So I know Ben has the Fuck It Friday, right?
Once a month, when we can,
Yeah. We're doing the conditions. Fuck it Friday. So it's once a month, the last Friday of the month, I think. Finish early, go to the pub for lunch, go back to the shed, clean the vehicles out, restock the vehicles, finish early. There's a bucket.
We just cooked a barbie. Yeah, they were so happy with that.
Yeah, right. It's a nice thing, right? Imagine understanding that a job had that going on, and you compare it to an ordinary job where stuff like that doesn't happen. Right? It's nice. So I want to think like those things. What else? I know other people do a 9-day fortnight. People do RDOs, don't they? Like they're appealing. Right.
Another thing that could be appealing is minimal travel. We primarily work at the Bellarine Peninsula and the Surf Coast. So some guys who want to go and work on the union sites and earn $20 more an hour or something need to travel an hour and a half each way a day. But people also like the idea of staying close to home and knocking off on time.
Well, that's probably true for all of you, isn't it? That's part of what's driving this Great Resignation. Is that for a lot of people, I did this for years. Right? I commuted into Sydney from the Northern Beaches, which was 50 minutes or so, twice a day. For a while, I commuted to Botany, which, if you know Sydney, is a fucking long way from the Northern Beaches. And you just kind of do it, right? You leave at 7 o'clock and you get home at 7 o'clock. And I think a lot of people who used to do that and kind of got used to it and thought it was normal, and now going, fuck that shit, 2 hours a day in the traffic, it's rubbish. So us who don't do that, and all of the people here today don't do that, and our staff don't do that, you should say that, I think. Because there will be tradies who, like you say, Hayley, drive into the city. And they're kind of, probably don't like it much, but don't really think about it, or haven't realised there are better options for them. And I think that's where we're going here with this, isn't it? There are other options apart from the money that make work good. What else have we got? Anybody familiar with a 9-day fortnight? Do you all know what that is? You work a bit of an extra hour a day or an extra half an hour a day, and then every second Friday, is a day off. That's quite appealing, right? That means you've got a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, not really for our trade at the moment, no offence, but when we've got apprentices already off for trade school day, couple here, couple there. It's like no more days off, I'm back to work.
If it's not possible, it's not possible.
Yeah.
We can consider all these things, right? And I want to throw it for you guys. What else is a condition we could think about making real in our business?
Providing a car.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's huge, right? A car's worth, I reckon, 10 or 12K.
Yeah.
Yeah. Petrol card.
Yeah. Do you guys let your staff take vehicles home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Although we're struggling at the moment, we've got a new guy who lives quite a way away. And I'm looking at the fuel bill and going, oh no, I'm not sure what to do with him.
It's tricky. We have a provision where our workshop is for the vans to be, because they're full of electrical stock and ladders, so you don't want it on someone's front footpath, and so we have a provision just where they park their cars every day, jump in the work van, stock them up, and then leave them at the end of the day, and it works well. We used to let them take them home in the past, but yeah, we just changed the structure a bit.
Yeah, we might hedge that actually in the end, maybe.
It's a bigger benefit if you can sell your car, right? If you don't have to own a car, then a company provided vehicle is a massive benefit because you can sell your car, keep the money, and you don't have to have a car. But if it's not practical for you, you don't have that benefit. Like, it's all right. You have to choose which benefits you can give people, don't you?
And when it's a trade vehicle fully decked out, it's not like you can cruise around the weekend and take your mates for a drive, like it's and it's costly. It's worth a lot when it's decked out. So
yeah, it's full of tools and things. Yeah. Okay, so that's a double-edged sword, that one, isn't it?
Sorry, 2 seconds. Thank you.
That's all right. what else could be a condition that we might want to advertise as appealing to people?
Well, we're with our main landscaper, we've supplied them with a toolbox and the work tools within. And yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what we're going to offer, but we're kind of in the midst of developing, I guess, a package to offer people. So one of which is maybe the toolbox. And, you know, we're having a similar debate as Hayley mentioned with providing company vehicles because they would be decked out with quite expensive tools, and that's, you know, a lot of money kind of driving around on weekends and outside of work hours. We're not sure what the best approach is there.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
With providing a vehicle.
Well, let's talk about this because it's obviously relevant for a couple of you.
Yeah.
So our cars all have large lockable toolboxes on them. So all the toolboxes are locked, and I guess like if someone wanted to get into it, they could get into it at our shed just as much as they could at their house. It's their responsibility to keep their toolbox locked.
Yeah.
And, that sort of has worked for us because again we provide their tools for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like even if it was here, someone could still break into it here. Like our shed's not it's in an industrial area, so it almost could be safer sort of at their houses in they all live in like nice areas, so it's not really that much.
The factory's full products, so we've got about 7 utes, so we can't.
We wouldn't be able to fit them inside the shed. They'd just be
Well, that's an interesting point actually, because they talk about the space in front of your house, you know, your driveway, as your defendable space. You know what I mean? Parking on the street's not defendable, but your driveway or your garage or whatever, it's much safer there. So it might well be safer than in your yard, where people can, you know, rob your vehicles without anybody seeing on the weekend because no one's about, right?
Mm.
A lot of the boys, they're also, even though the tools they don't buy themselves, they are still protective of their tools. I guess they use them every day, so it's like they're theirs. They don't want to be without their tools.
Yeah.
A lot of them take extra precaution, like they'll make sure their car's parked in the driveway or in their garage, or, you know, they all make sure they're locked. And we've actually never had tools stolen from anybody's car, except for the supervisor, actually. Yeah. Left his toolbox unlocked, right? Everyone else, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting feedback, isn't it? Maybe it's less of a risk and a problem than you thought.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, you can give people the benefit of a company vehicle without it being such a big risk. So
we do at Christmas time get the cars parked up usually.
Oh yeah, in holiday time.
Because we don't want the responsibility of having to worry about cars. Like we're on a holiday too. We don't want someone ringing up and saying, "Oh, your car's been in an accident," or we ask them to bring them back for the Christmas lockdown.
And at Christmas time, we would park them all inside the shed. Like obviously, because we're not accessing the shed, we sort of cram them all in there and block it up for the 2 weeks off.
Okay.
All right, let's pause the car thing for a minute, right? It's definitely a bonus, a nice thing that attracts people. If there's a car provided, you get the full benefit if you don't have to have a car of your own. It's still a benefit if you get to use the company's car for work, because that doesn't put wear on your car. So it's still a benefit. It's just not as big a benefit as if you don't have to have one at all. But and you can make your own decision, I think, on whether you give them a full car or not. A lot of, like I always had a car as an employee. I thought it was a great benefit. I was a salesperson, of course, so I needed to travel for work. But when they provide you with a company car, it feels like a great benefit because you don't have to go and buy one. When I had to go and buy my own car, I had to find money and buy a car, right? Right, let's hold on to that. What else is there? What else is a nice benefit for people? You could provide lunch.
Yeah, I was just going to say we don't quite do Fuck It Friday yet in terms of having a half day off, but Nick takes the boys out for lunch. It at least once every fortnight. Sometimes it's once a week, usually on Friday. If it's not lunch, he'll just let people have a slower start one day in a week and might take them for coffee or something at a cafe nearby to a work site, just to have a bit of a team huddle, I guess, and have a bit of a chat.
Yeah, I think these are they always call these hygiene issues, don't they, or hygiene factors. Just the little things that you might not consider, but they're actually quite important in terms of how people feel at work.
Yeah.
Try and capture these and talk about them, you know.
Yeah, I think getting bought lunch is great.
What was that?
I think safety is a really important thing. Like if you can talk about that you have a safe work environment. You haven't had any, accidents or, that yeah.
Well, I think it goes with we look after you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Rates of bullying.
Yeah, no bullying, no accidents.
Sunscreen, COVID safe.
All those things, right? COVID safe, hats, protective gear. What about protective gear provided?
Yeah, we can provide all that, yeah.
Or your PPE.
Yeah. We also supply like safe work tickets as well. Like we've put a few of our guys through some working at heights courses and that sort of stuff. So professional development that we supply.
Let's talk about professional development and training. That's a good one, right? Like that's important to people, isn't it? That's how, if you invest in them, we talked about investing in them earlier. If you invest in them and then they grow, they get to be more valuable and more employable and can earn more later and feel more, more masterful and powerful and all that sort of stuff.
Three.
We'll invest in you. Like, that's cool. How do we invest in you? Anything else? And we've talked, Helen, a little bit about, coffee machines, and I know Jeremy, who's obviously had trouble getting back on or something, they've got lollies on all the desks, bowls of lollies.
Yeah, I guess that's our office stuff. We fund the office. We look after the office, I think, a bit better than we do the guys.
So a new idea that we're having is we're going to get a fridge downstairs and we're going to stock it with Powerade and Zoop Doopers in summer, so they can get a frozen Powerade or Zoop Dooper or a drinking Powerade to take with them on site. Just have a fridge stocked with that sort of stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not an expensive thing to do.
No.
They'll probably feel very looked after because of it. You're spending your 50 or a couple of $100 a week on Powerades and things, and hydrate.
Because they all drink it, they all have it in their cars continuously, so it'd be nice for them, especially on those really hot days in February, January.
Yeah.
Just to grab a drink to take with them.
It's hot out there.
It's also probably a really good idea to have a water fountain downstairs they can fill up their drink water with, like I do at the gym.
Yeah.
We've got one at the gym that's just a freestanding one that's cold water, and you just fill it up on hot days.
Yeah, they can fill their water bottles before they go. It's a great idea. We did one. We had a massage therapist come.
That's a good idea. Actually, we've sent some of the guys to get a massage or paid for a couple of osteo appointments. Yeah.
Oh, come on. Really?
Well,
Good. I'll come work for you.
we don't do it in my business. We've done it in Focus Analytics in New Zealand because they're all bending over microscopes, getting a stiff neck.
Right.
Once a month, we have a therapist come in and give everyone a massage, or we send them across the road to a massage therapist.
That'd be so meant.
We could do it, couldn't we?
What's it? I mean, it's funny. I know we're having a bit of fun, but you know, tradies work hard and get sore and
They
stiff.
do.
Yeah.
Our landscapers get really, like, they get sore backs and aches in the shoulders. And,
Yeah, same.
Or we should send them to the physician. Yeah,
Or you could
for a
have
massage.
someone here. You could have someone here.
No, you give them a voucher or something. You mean?
What you could do, you could go and do a deal with a local massage therapist.
Or Mr. Charlestown under the cemetery.
Yeah, and you could buy vouchers, and you could buy them each a voucher to go once a month for a proper massage.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, you know, that to me feels like something inexpensive, because what's a massage? $80, but there's a proper treat. So it gets you a lot of mileage. We get free massages once a month.
Yeah.
Feels like it's a big treat, right? A big deal from your employer.
Yeah.
But it only costs you $80 a month each person. You know, or I don't know. I'm brainstorming, right? You make your own choices with these, especially, but things like that are relatively inexpensive but have a lot of benefit for people will help you attract and keep people, right? What else could we do? I'll tell you what I might do, because I'm trying to talk about finding people today. I might now show you Patrick's video, because he talks about he's an attract them, and part of his deal is how to write an interesting job ad, and he and I have had some interesting conversations about what you guys might do and who you might try and appeal to. And we've talked about a few things, right? Actually, you three in particular, this applies very well to. You're not in the major cities, right? You know, you guys are in Newcastle, you're up here in Byron, and you're in, I never know where it is, the Surf Coast. Is it called the Tullamarine or something?
Bellarine.
Bellarine, that's it. Bellarine, right? They're all nice places. So one thing you could all do is try and attract people from the cities to come and move, right? To sea change or tree change. Right? And Newcastle, Newcastle's well known as a place for people to come decide they'll go to, right? So's the Surf Coast, so's Byron. Not so much Byron because it's expensive now, but you know, perhaps not as expensive as parts of Sydney. So what you could do is run ads in Sydney and the cities and say, why don't you move to the coast, live the nicer life? We've got an interesting job, you know, and run that kind of ad. So we'll talk a bit about that with Patrick's stuff. We also talked a little bit about trying to attract FIFO people. And how can we run ads to the FIFO types, probably run them nationally or in the cities, but to the people who are working FIFO, saying, you know, are you sick of that shit now? Come back to the nice world and live a nice life with the money you've earned as FIFO. Don't do it forever. So I think that's something we could consider as well. Look, let me show Patrick's thing. Partly because it stops me talking. I'll put my face back on for a minute. I'll find. Okay, Patrick sent this thing, which is look. Well, that's weird, isn't it? What can you see? Can you see the video with the funnel on it?
I can see five of the same windows.
Yeah, so can I. That's a bit worrying, isn't it? Okay, hold on, John. Let me try a different way of doing that then. Don't know why it's doing that. If I do that, what can you see now?
Now I can see me.
Let's try it. Now we can see 5 views, can't we? Not quite sure why that's happening. Using Epoch Cam, no Ecamm Live, which is obviously too smart for me. That's why. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Right. So I'll let Patrick talk. If he's too boring, tell me. But he's going to explain his service, and I'm just letting him explain it himself. We'll watch it together.
Hello, my name is Patrick Long. I'm the founder of bizpal.org.
Can you hear him?
We'll talk a little bit about what that is, but today's presentation I've titled The One Thing You Need to Know About Recruiting. And I say the one thing because I know most people who come to a presentation like this online, really they're just looking to get that one thing that's going to help them in their business and they're going to move on. I hope to give you dozens of things today in the time that we have. But if you only get one thing, we'll talk about what that one thing is that I really hope sticks with you from the presentation today. So a little bit about me, the man, the myth, the legend. My name is Patrick Aaron Long. Those are my initials, PAL. So just your pal. Founder of bizpal.org, and I created a automated recruiting program. I talk a little bit about what that means, but it is a recruitment marketing solution. I'm also a proud husband and father. My wife actually, we're expecting our third here in the next week and a half. Could happen any day though, right? So a little bit more about me. My dad was a career tradesman, so I kind of was born into the industry. One thing he always encouraged me to do, stay away from the trades. Here I am. Talk about my experience. I have over 10 years of experience in the trades, particularly in sales, customer service, and business development. Got to work with the plumbing and HVAC business here and oversaw the growth of that company with $4.5 million in under 2 years. I then went on to work with an industry-specific training company. So we did training seminars, we did coaching and consulting. And I got to work with many of North America, Canada's most successful service contractors, see what they were doing and what was working for them. And then eventually launched my own business in 2016, also working with contractors. The number one frustration, the number one problem that kept coming back was, all the training in the world is good and well. But the number one thing that we really need in our business is more people, right? We need more help in order to grow our business. So if you're in that boat, I hope you keep watching the presentation, and I hope to be able to deliver some value and some excellent advice, things that we've seen working over the last 5+ years here that you can use in your business to help get more people and grow your business. So I am certified in Facebook advertising, inbound marketing, business automations with Entreport. Many of you might be familiar with that. And you can text. I can give you a free resource here. It's called the Pub, P-U-B-B, job post strategy. It's literally our strategy. We've been using this for the last 5 years.
I went forward then, didn't I? Sorry.
Why is recruiting so difficult in this industry? Multiple jobs online, maybe inbound marketing, business automation.
Okay, sorry about that. That was me. Fucked it up.
Entreport. Many of you might be familiar with that software. as well as certified with the John Maxwell team in speaking, coaching, and leadership. That's what that certification is right there. So if any of you here are watching, you're part of the JMT team, thanks for tuning in and listening here. So many of the frustrations my clients have are going to be probably a lot of the frustrations that you guys have as well. Maybe you're just struggling with, all the time, or maybe just, hosting multiple interviews or multiple job hiring processes. That really puts a strain on you, takes away a lot of your time that patients, or you're not getting any, or you're just not getting.
Sorry, everybody. Michelle just wanted to tell me what she's doing and leaving. So I muted myself so you wouldn't hear. I didn't realize it was going to mute everything. I'll rewind it.
Qualified people, you're tired of, junk applications and resumes and sorting and sifting through all that crap, and or maybe just hosting multiple interviews or multiple job hiring processes. That really puts the strain on you, takes away a lot of your time that could be dedicated to other parts of your business. It's just not fun, right? Dealing with multiple job processes and ultimately not getting the right guy or the right guy. So we're going to talk about those frustrations. We're going to talk about solutions to those frustrations. So again, pay attention, stick around, keep watching, and I hope you get at least one thing. So why is recruiting so difficult in this industry? Number one, limited labor pool, right? There's just not enough of these guys out there. There's a really, really high demand, very, very, very limited labor pool. And I think over the last year in particular, COVID and other things have put a lot of strain on the industry. There's been a huge boom and an upswing in the demand. And so the labor pool is more limited today than it's ever been, really.
And that's true here too, right?
The second problem that I see, and this is really one that we can fix, right? Limited labor pool, the only thing we can do to fix that problem is going to be encouraging more people to get into the trades, right? Like I said, for my dad being a career tradesman, that's great. But the number one thing, the thing that he always told me consistently was stay away from the trades. And maybe you're guilty of that too, right? Discouraging people from entering the trades. Or there's just no entry level positions for people to come into, right? There's nobody pushing a broom in the shop or anything like that to get started and just be familiar and act.
Do you think that's true here in Australia? I think government policy has been to encourage people to go to university, hasn't it? Certainly in the UK, that's massive, and it's resulted in fewer people going into the trades. It's stigmatized trades a bit. I think there's a bit of that. We could be suffering from that a little bit, couldn't we?
With the parts and how things go together, and eventually we can get them into an apprenticeship. So number one, we need to encourage more people to get into the trade, and number two, we need to create entry-level opportunities for them in order to address that problem. Number one problem being a limited labor pool. But second to that is reactive recruiting, and again, this one is one that we really have full control over. We can fix this today. And that is, reactive recruiting versus proactive. Again, the typical process is we wait until there's turnover or demand, and then we start to recruit, and we're urgent about it. We really need help. We're desperate. We need help. Please, somebody come help. Please, somebody apply, right? We're kind of begging. And we'll talk about why that's such a bad thing, right? But the current process to me is just insanity. Right? Insanity. And what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we expect different results, right? So we'll talk a little bit about coming up here, how do we break this cycle, right? We got to do something different. And, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. We're just going to have to do something different here. So we can't wait for turnover or demand to start desperately recruiting, because all that gives us is a flood of junk applications, or we don't get anything at all, right? That puts us under even more stress, even more duress. We really need these guys. And so we tend to, rush the interview, make a quick hire. We settle, right, for less than what we should. That leaves us frustrated as an employer. Here we got a guy who's not meeting our expectations. And that leaves them frustrated too, right? I mean, they're they want to be somewhere where they're successful, right? And so we'll talk about some of that as well. Like what are guys looking for, right? But they're frustrated, you're frustrated, you either let them go or they leave, and you're right back into the same process again, where you're going to put a message out there, hope that somebody responds to it. You're putting it out there on Seek or Indeed or wherever. And it's a reactive thing, right? We're waiting until there's an uptick in demand. You know, the busy season has hit us and we really need to hire some guys, and we post it, or we wait until somebody's left the company or we've had to cut somebody out. And then we start this process all over again, right? So the root cause of this problem is really the thought and the belief that you can just hire on demand, right? So you really only need to recruit when needed versus recruiting all the time.
It's what we all do, isn't it? We all go, better hire somebody. So this feels to me, I haven't seen this presentation before, right? This feels to me quite familiar, this process that he's describing when we hire, you know, kind of urgently. We're busy, we need somebody, right? And that sort of almost desperation is a very familiar situation.
Right. So proactive recruiting means recruit all the time. Always be recruiting. You know, many of my clients say, well, if I'm recruiting all the time, then I'm going to spend all my time in job interviews and this kind of. We'll talk about how we can solve a lot of that with automations. We'll talk about that coming up. But like, it's not going to be a giant time suck for you to be recruiting all the time if you implement some of the things we're going to talk about coming up in the presentation. So the third most common problem, and honestly, this might be like the worst overall, right? Is just really, really bad job post strategy. So maybe you've had this problem. Maybe this has happened to you or somebody you know. Have you ever published a job where you got just like absolutely like no response? Just fell on its face. Okay, here's a quick example. I literally found this within like 30 seconds of just poking around. Here's a really, really, really good example of just a really sad job post, right? Blank company is currently recruiting for a second technician in the Broad Street location. Please email me for additional information, submit your resume. You may contact us. Okay, so the part that's really sad about this is this little follow-up right here at the bottom, where they go back after they clearly had gotten no response to this at all. I think they got one like on the thing. They got no response at all. And they come back and they go, we're still looking. Is anyone interested? Is anyone interested? Man, that's really sad. Okay, well, let me tell you the first thing that they got wrong. Number one, please. This is so desperate, right? We just talked about this. When you're desperate, you put a message out there, it's desperate. You're not going to get much of anything. If you do get anything, it's going to be pretty sad and desperate people, right? So is anyone interested? Well, no one's interested. And the other thing too here is blank company, me, us. I'm sorry, but people don't really care about you. They don't really care about your company. They care about themselves. They came to the internet, they're on social media, they're there for themselves. So when you post a job, and we'll talk about this in a free resource I'm about to give you access to, you want to make it personable. You want to make it about them. The subject should be them. Are you this? Are you that? Do you want this? Do you want that? So on and so forth. All right, we'll talk about that again. But if you got a cell phone number and you can text, I can give you a free resource here. It's called the PUBB job post strategy. It's literally our strategy. We've been using this for the last 5 years. We found really good success in using this template to post a job. And so if you text this acronym PUBB to 260-204-0900, or you go to our website, bizpal.org, go to services, go to recruiting, scroll down a little bit, it'll pop up. I want you to have this. Honestly, I'd like to see better job postings out there. So the acronym, just real quick, what this stands for, PUBB, personable. It's got to be about them. Right off the bat, you have to make the subject about them. Talk to them. Are you this? Are you that? Do you currently work with a company where you don't feel like you have a bright future? Here's what we have to offer you, right? Now, we talked about disparity. I lay out urgency. There's a difference between being urgent and being desperate, right? Please apply, help wanted, help needed. That's all desperate, right? How to apply urgency instead of disparity, it's going to be critical in your guys' job postings. BB, so beneficial and brief. You don't want to lay on too much. You're just going to drive them away. But you want to communicate how you as an employer are going to benefit them. How do you make their life better, right? How are you giving them what they want, what they need? Just real quick, I want to make sure you guys understand this. How do you know if what you have to offer is what guys want? Ask them. I know it sounds so simple, right? Just ask them. Ask them. What is it that you love the most about what we have to offer? What is it that you want more than anything? Is there a way we can improve as an employer, right?
I'll just pause him again. That's a worthwhile thing to do, I think. Go and ask your people what they like about working here. It's easy to do, right? It's easy to do, call them in, have a little meeting, or ask them one at a time and say, we're doing some work on our recruitment. What do you like about working here?
You might be shocked, but like the number one thing that people look for is a schedule, right? They can go do plumbing work anywhere. They can go do HVAC work anywhere, right? The number one thing that they're going to be looking for is a schedule. That's the biggest differentiator from one company to the next. So what kind of schedule do they want? Ask them, what kind of schedule do you want? You might be surprised, the traditional, 5-day work week kind of thing might not be what guys are looking for. The majority of people, at least here in the United States, Canada, we know guys want longer days, shorter weeks, right? They'd rather work 10, 12 hours a day for 3 or 4 days a week than work, 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. So just a thought, ask, see what kind of response you get, and make sure what you have to offer lines up with what they're wanting. You're going to win over more candidates that way. And if you deliver on that, hey, do you want 4-day work weeks or 5-day work weeks? They say they want 4, you give them 4, you delivered on that. You're going to keep guys a lot longer too. So how to attract them, how to retain them, give them what they want, ask them what they want and give it to them. All right. 2 key components of any service business. I think everyone pretty well understands. The first cornerstone of any service business is leads, right? Customer leads. This is usually where everyone spends their time. Usually where everyone spends their money too, right? It's marketing and advertising to produce customer leads. You probably have a marketing and advertising plan. You probably have a marketing and advertising budget. Most do. The second cornerstone of any service business is going to be the labor. Guys on hand to do the job, right? That makes a lot of sense. That's literally what we're talking about. And you don't really need a plan or a budget to find those guys, right? You could just call them up and they come out of nowhere and all good, right? What's that smell? It's in the air. What is it? What do you think it is? Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay. That's total bullshit. It's a lie. It's a fantasy. Okay. Here's the painful truth. You ready? Painful truth number 1. Quality labor is not cheap, easy, or quick to find, right? I think you've pretty much all seen this thing, right? Good, fast, cheap. Pick one. Oh, wait. You don't get all 3, right? Good labor isn't quick to find, and it's not cheap. Okay? That's the point. Painful truth number 2. There needs to be a balance between the leads in your business or customer demand and the labor or your capacity to fulfill that demand, right? So demand, labor is your leads, customer leads. Labor is your supply. So we're dealing with supply and demand here. So if your demand outweighs your supply, what's the problem, right? If your demand is outweighing your supply, then you're going to be overworking your guys. You're working overtime. That's cutting into your profits. Guys are getting overworked. That makes them unhappy. They're not spending time at home with the family and the wife. The wife, is upset. She's telling them, go find a different job, right? You've seen this before, right? So the other way around, not enough customer demand and too much supply. Guys are sitting around, they're smoking and joking, maybe you got to lay them off, right? I mean, there's just not enough customer work coming in. You got to lay them off. You're going to lose guys either way, right? You're going to lose guys. You're going to lose profit either way. Okay, here's the ideal. You got to balance these two out, right? And again, it goes back to majority of contractors, especially the ones that I work with. They've got a plan. They've got a budget for advertising and marketing. They know how they're going to drive customer leads. They have no idea how they're going to drive labor, right? They have no idea how they're going to get more applications. And, they're just winging it. And they're hoping that, as we need guys, we'll make a post and we'll get guys. Well, that doesn't happen. All right. So what's your recruiting plan? What's your recruiting budget? You might want a plan, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, a budget, a serious budget. Okay. I'm not talking about like, we'll post on Indeed and then we'll sponsor it, for $50, no, like you need an actual budget. And it could be a multitude of things. So we're going to talk about like what all you can be doing, right, to recruit skilled trades professionals. But what are you doing now? How are those efforts working out? You're probably posting on job posts, or you're posting on Facebook, which is kind of like mass media. Maybe a radio ad or something like that. Mass media. It doesn't really pinpoint target who you're looking for. Neither does a job board. And quite frankly, if you're posting out on a job board like Seek or Indeed or something like that, you're literally putting yourself in front of people who are actively looking for a job. Most of the people in the trades right now are not looking for a job because they're in high demand and they don't have to apply to a job. They can get a job anywhere at any point in time, right? So probably not going to find you who you're looking for either way. So mass media, billboards, radio, print, mailers, TV, band wraps, yard signs, social posts, etc. Right? It's just kind of wide open. Anyone who can look at it, they're looking at it. Not necessarily exactly who you're looking for. Job boards, again, you guys use some different ones, but Seek, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster. There's a million of these out there. It's kind of crazy, but there's so many. Yeah, but literally, there's like a million of them. Okay. What about Craigslist? Craigslist is really popular here in the United States. Most people are just junk, unqualified for applicants, spam, solicitors, that kind of stuff. So let me give you another example. Again, this is kind of the title headline of a job post. Licensed plumber needed, right? Now hiring, needed and now hiring are both very desperate. Okay, not necessarily urgent. So I hope you go to the website, bizpod.org. Go to services, go to recruiting, scroll down. There will be a pop-up. Get the PUBB job post strategy.
I'll get it.
Or fill out the form there on the site and I will email it to you. It's a free resource. We're going to teach you how to avoid coming across as being desperate, right? Here's the thing. The more you need them, the less desirable overall you are going to be to them, right? So it's kind of like this situation. Love me, please, you need me, please, I need you. Okay, well, that tends to drive them away, right? I mean, if you're a guy watching this, like, exactly what I'm talking about, that girl in middle school or junior high or whatever it was, the more you pined for her, the more you wanted her attention, the less she really wanted your attention, right? So the strategy, the key here is don't come across as being desperate. Okay. The other thing is the more you tell people you need them and you're desperate to hire them, that kind of thing, you're really just like putting yourself in a position to be taken advantage of. We call this the shark, right? The more you put out there, like, oh man, I need you. I'm so desperate. Please, we can't do this without you. Oh, you're just chumming up the waters for these guys. And they're going to come along and they're going to just demand whatever price they want. And, they're going to come and go just as quickly, right? They're going to take advantage of you and then they're going to move on and take advantage of another company. So you don't want to be that guy, right? This guy right here. You don't want to be chumming up the waters for the sharks. Okay. Yeah, that's you. So anyway, so a lot of job posts, job boards, they talk about, being able to match up your job post with whoever it is that is the right person. And, staffing companies, recruiters, headhunters, blah, 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 blah. Here's the one thing that all of them do, even the job boards, everything. They're all doing this one thing. And you could be doing it too. They're marketing. Indeed or Seek is a marketing resource They go out there and they look, they're advertising and marketing and they're, doing all these things. They're trying to find people who are looking for a job, and they're doing the same thing, trying to advertise and market to people who are looking to hire people, and then they bring them together on that site. But you could be doing the same thing, right? Recruiting is marketing, marketing is recruiting. If you have a marketing budget and a plan, you should have a recruiting budget and a plan as well. So again, you have to have a plan, you have to have a budget. If you don't, then you should. Know your audience. Who is it that you're trying to get in front of? Where are they spending their time? What are they interested in? What do they need? What do they want? How do you deliver on those things? Again, what are your opportunities to get in front of them? So where are they spending their time? Maybe it's at another job site. Maybe it's at the supply house. Probably online. They're probably on social media, especially over the last year, more now than ever. Again, what do they want? What do they need? That's what you need to tell them. Hello, my name is Patrick Long.
What happened there?
I'm the founder of bizpal.org. Maybe you gotta you're literally putting yourself in front of people who are actively looking for a job. Yeah. But versus go to recruiting. You need me, please, I need you. If you're a guy watching this, the more you want to be taken advantage of. We call this the shark. So you don't want to be that guy. Like we talk about, being able to match up your job post with whoever.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Person, and you have staffing companies, recruit.
Sorry about that. I think that was my fault. I think I touched my mouse while I was reaching for my water. It was about here, wasn't it?
Recruiters, headhunters, blah, 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 blah. Here's the one thing that all of them do, even the job boards, everything. They're all doing this. One, people who are looking for a job, and they're doing the same thing, trying to advertise and market to people who are looking to hire people, and then they bring them together on that site. But you could be doing the same thing, right? Recruiting is marketing, marketing is recruiting. If you have a marketing budget and a plan, you should have a recruiting budget and a plan as well. So again, you have to have a plan, you have to have a budget. If you don't, then you should. Know your audience. Who is it that you're trying to get in front of? Where are they spending their time? What are they interested in? What do they need? What do they want? How do you deliver on those things? Again, what are your opportunities to get in front of them? So where are they spending their time? Maybe it's at another job site. Maybe it's at the supply house. Probably online. They're probably on social media, especially over the last year, more now than ever. Again, what do they want? What do they need? That's what you need to tell them in order to get them to apply. And then pre-qualify them, right, to make sure that they're a fit for your business. We're going to talk about how you can use automations, or how we use automations to speed that process up. And, acquisition is just as important as retention, and they are somewhat related. So the way that you draw people in is related to keeping them. Okay. If you draw them in with X, Y, A, B offer, and you don't deliver on that, you will not retain those people. If you're asking people what they want and what they need, and you're delivering on that, and you keep asking, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? How can we improve? You will retain more people. Okay. So I hope that helps some people who are watching this right now. Again, a lot of complaints, but if I recruit more, I have to do more, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about how marketing and advertising meets up with custom automation. So here's kind of the overall process. You have to go find them. You have to make them interested. You have to, compare to your minimum qualifications, compare to your ideal wants. You have to separate who's qualified, who's not. All of that, can be automated, the whole thing, right? There are different methods to finding people, whether you post on a job board, it's kind of like fishing. You throw some bait out there, hope the right people come along, or you can hunt them down with some paid advertising, which is what we do with our solution. And then you can automate the rest of that, right? Qualify, disqualify, score them based on how well they match up to your ideal wants, and then deliver only the qualified people, right? So this is kind of what we do.
Did that make sense? Because he kind of run over that, didn't he? After taking ages to explain to us what marketing was, he rushed through his funnel quite quickly. But did that make sense? Are you all?
Maybe if we can get a visual of it.
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, I'll take a photo.
Take a photo. I can make this available. We're recording this anyway.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the process I've been teaching you, right? We've got to find them, we've got to run ads, and then we've got to attract them, make them interested, and then you've got to filter them a bit. So you've got to compare them to your minimum qualifications, right? So you've got to filter those resumes and do all that. And then you've got to assess and score. That's your interview process, really. The ones who meet your minimum criteria, you're going to interview, or some of them. You've got to get rid of the rubbish ones. And then the delivery is the qualified applicants are the ones you go and interview, right? So their system does some of this stuff for you instead of you having to filter. It does some of the filtering for you. That's what he's talking about, right? He's talking about automating some of this process. I'll let him explain, because I think he will explain it in a second.
That, right? Qualify, disqualify, score them based on how well they match up to your ideal wants, and then deliver only the qualified people, right? So this is kind of what we do. I kind of give you the visual, and you can always get more information from us directly, but we post a job, make it fun, make it interesting, engage them personally, right? So maybe they're an outdoors kind of person. They love working with this kind of equipment, blah, blah, blah. Then we send them to an application form where we can pre-screen them. And then we can code, the application process, right, to where we filter out those who are qualified, those who aren't, and then send, the people who are qualified go to your email inbox, and the people who aren't qualified get a nice little email that says thanks but no thanks, right? So if you were to build the system yourself,
I'll explain that for you a bit more if you like, right? So what they do is they sex up an ad. We couldn't read that ad, could we? But it was like, do you love working with chainsaws and outdoor equipment and trees? And do you love the smell of diesel in the morning? Right, so he's sexing up the ad and making it a bit more interesting than your average plumber required. And then what they do, is they run you to it, they click on the ad, they go to a landing page, and they fill out an application form. And the application form asks them certain questions. So you put your minimum criteria on there, right? So you might put, how's the visa to work in Australia? Driving license, do you have a driving license? You might put, do you have your ticket? If you're looking for a tradesperson, you might say, do you have your license? So you might put some comments like that, and they fill out the application form online, and then you get to see a spreadsheet of all the applicants with the yeses and the nos and the answers to the questions. So if you've got a question that's a definite yes, if you have to have a driving license, and this person says, no, I don't have a driving license, you don't need to worry about interviewing them. So it automates that process, okay? And then they send you, every applicant gets sent to you, and you get to look and see if they're any good or not.
Qualified, go to your email inbox, and the people who aren't qualified get a nice little email that says thanks but no thanks. So if you were to build this system yourself, you'd have to kind of know quite a bit, but we do have great news. The solution's already been built, and it's been highly successful for the last few years. So we can help you implement this in your business. Okay. It starts with targeted advertising, some inbound marketing, some funnels. Obviously the job post strategy that we just talked about, which I will give that to you. Okay. You can have that part of it. If you want to hook it up to these other things that we've talked about and speed this process up for you, make it simpler for you, let's have a chat, right? And you don't have to be an expert in any of these things to do it, right? So we help to automatically find and attract skilled trades talent for you. We customize our process to what your needs are to ensure you get people who you really, really want. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to tinyurl.com/bizpal recruiting, or you just go to bizpal.org, bizpal.org. And again, we can schedule a conversation to talk more about what we're doing, how we're actively going out there and finding people and bringing them in. Or let's just schedule a call. Let's talk and see where you're at in your business and what your challenges are and what your frustrations are, and how we can help you with recruiting in your business. So I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I hope you've gotten at least one thing out of it. And I hope that one thing was at least that recruiting is marketing. So let's take it serious. But if you'd like more information, let's get in contact with each other.
Okay. How did you like that? You're all muted, so you can unmute and talk to me again.
Yeah, that's interesting. About targeting, the guys, so LinkedIn and that, and obviously for people who are actively looking, but if we want a tradie sort of guy, a guy who wants to actually do the installations, we're going to have to look on other media.
I think, yeah, that's how I see it. So I met Patrick maybe 4 or 5 years ago, a little while ago anyway, and referred him to some of my clients, and it went quite well for a few of them.
Yeah.
So he charges, I think he charges $2,500. That's probably US. It's about $2,500. It's a little bit more, isn't it? So that's his fee, right? So it's less than a recruitment consultant, but more than running your own ad on Seek. And then you need to spend a bit of money on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But he's saying in the experience that I had with him, I probably worked with him with 3 or 4 clients. I think he did a couple of free trials for me back in the day.
Oh, damn, we missed that.
Yeah. Right. And it was a good experience, right? So he sits with you on a Zoom call and talks about the job, a bit like what we've been doing this morning, and then he crafts an ad like that, do you love the smell of the chainsaw oil in the morning or whatever? And then we talk about where you run that ad.
Yeah.
And I know his presentation's a bit American. Things just seem easy over there, right? All you have to do in the States is put your ad on Facebook and people throw money at you, it seems.
How long does the campaign go for, John? For that 2.5?
I think it goes until you hire somebody.
Okay. All right.
So his advice previously was, we'll spend $20 a day for a week and see how we go.
Okay.
Because once he's set it up, it's easy, right? It's done.
Yeah.
He's invested in the automation system, so running, interviewing you, running an ad is easy, and then you just go to Facebook and turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
So the 2.5K is to set up the automation system, which is then we can use indefinitely. It's just there and it's set up and.
I suspect it's on his system, and you have to pay again.
Oh, right. So per recruit.
Yeah.
Like campaign. Yeah.
So you'd have to. I'm not certain. When I first met him, I thought he was charging you $500 a month, kind of forever as a retainer.
Right.
And now he's saying $500 a month for 5 months because it's $2,500, but you can pay it off over 5 months. So
right. Okay.
You'd have to ask him. His preference is you hire constantly, which is what he said. You're always kind of recruiting, so you pay as the retainer, and then you turn your automation on whenever you want. And if you want to hire different people, I'll interview you again and write in new ads.
Right.
If you're going to be hiring reasonably consistently, makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Seek's about 650, I think, for a month for an ad.
To run the ad, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it does a similar thing. It screens people out, and you can put up. Yeah.
The real difference with him is that he's running ads on Facebook. And I liken this to, and I said this a lot, I know, the people on Seek are the people who are looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Right? And the only ones who ad on Seek are the people who have gone, I don't like my job, or I'd like to move, or I've been fired, or whatever it is, and who are on Seek actively searching for work. Right? Whereas Facebook is different, and everyone sees Facebook. So you're showing, the ads are being shown to a different audience, and you can choose your audience, right? You can try and choose people who like Bunnings and people who like camping stores, or you can just show it to everybody in your local area. You can do a little bit of audience searching, and then you get to do the, hey, look at our ad, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell the quick story. When I came to Australia, I applied for the visa, the point system visa, and didn't get it. Right? I didn't have enough points because my degree was in chemistry and the job I had was in sales. So they went, no. So I was disappointed and didn't get in. And then my friend saw, this is before the internet, right? My friend saw an ad in the Sunday Times that said, hey, do you work in the IT industry and networks and want to come and live in Sydney? And my friend went, oh, that's John. And rang me up and said, there's an ad in the Sunday Times for you. You should go and apply. And I think they even came round to my house with the paper, and I applied for the job and got it and came to Australia. Right. So we're looking for that kind of thing. I kind of, oh, that's interesting. We're looking for friends and wives and partners and things to see the ads and say, this would be a good ad for you. This would be a good job for you. Why don't you move? We get a different thing, right? So instead of the seek people, we get to kind of tempt people over. And I think that's the interesting thing we try and do, right? If we can write a job ad that's appealing for people, we can tempt them over and pull them out of their current shitty jobs to come work for us. So look, if you're interested in exploring with Patrick, of course do. I'm going to put this training in the Tradies Toolbox so you can watch it again. We'll put it in as a separate video, if that's all right, Lindsay. Shall I go and get that pub? I'm answering the question myself. I'm going to go and get the pub. bizpal.org. I'll put it in the chat. Where did he say to go and get it? In recruitment marketing.
Text was at 260-204-0900.
Yeah, he said it was on the website as well.
Okay.
I thought he said that. I'm looking now, I'm not finding it. Okay, so he says first position, $625 a month for 6 months, then $250 a month. And then as you hire more people, it gets cheaper. We'll find it, I'll get it and send it to you, right? And I think he's talking about how to write a job ad and use the right language. So let me find it. Oh, here it is. John. Fish. Okay, it's not here yet, but it's on its way. I'm going to encourage you to consider it, right? Because of the other avenues we have and the other avenues that all of you guys have been using have been running a seek ad or running an ad in the local paper, right? That's really all we've been doing. So if you want to grow and you want to find some decent people, I think that's a valid tool. Now, time we took a little break. I realise it's 11:15 and we've been going for a while. Should we take a quick 10-minute break?
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you in 10. When we get back, we'll write a job ad. We'll each write a job ad. All right, I'll see you in 10 minutes.
So what was for breakfast?
I had some soup leftovers.
Yeah. You know how my day was good. Great on Thursday. He didn't take our offer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's not quite the direction I want to go.
What does that mean? Well, that's frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, it made a great Friday.
Do you mind sharing with everyone?
Huh?
Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. When everyone's back, not a worry.
Yeah.
Yes, a little frustrating. Anyway,
isn't it? We thought you'd do it sorted out, didn't we? Really?
Oh, all happy and smiles on Thursday, cheering, ready to go.
Barry thought he'd hired the perfect guy on Thursday.
Oh, look, I'm not going to say perfect, but he was what we thought was a good fit for what we're after.
Yeah.
But yes, he decided he didn't want to take the position. Gave it all the things that he asked for, and we thought we'd answered all the questions and everything like that he needed and wanted. And yeah, then said, no, sorry, I'm not quite the direction I want to go.
What's your company, Barry?
We've got an electrical and property maintenance company up in Brisbane. So we were looking at hiring our next electrician, but someone who was capable of doing a few other little bits and pieces, just like the handyman bits and pieces. But yeah, not didn't want to play.
So was it? Do you think it was that he wanted to do more electrical, not handyman? Was it that? Do you think?
I don't know. I think he's got a pretty cushy role with where he is, and he just wanted to, and didn't want to. I think that was the end part, that he was comfortable where he was and hasn't wanted to move.
Look, you get that, right? Some people just apply for jobs to see if the grass is greener.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Right, that is a thing, unfortunately.
Anyway, on upwards and.
Was very timely, right? Back we go to recruiting. Try not to be desperate. I still don't have the email from Patrick that I downloaded from his website, so I'll have to wait a bit for that before I share that with you. But why don't we think about writing a few job ads? Do you want to do that? Do you want to write a job ad and we'll brainstorm them together? Let's start with Barry, because Barry has the clear and present need. So show us your current job ad and tell us where you're running it. And let's think about what we might write and how we might do it if we were working with Patrick.
Let me just get on to find where they all are first.
Will you find it and I'll talk?
All right, so we've just finished recently just through the normal simple 1 through C.
Didn't I put it in Facebook? Didn't you send it to me to post in Facebook?
I think you put that one there. I do think you did put that one there. So we currently have just loaded that one up onto Facebook and haven't had anything from it. We've currently got a one from just a typical maintenance tech, a carpentry sort of base. And I've had 4 applicants for that. One, after a quick conversation, has said no, took a different job. And we've got 2 others that have came through over the weekend that we haven't looked at yet.
Let's focus on this electrician for a minute then. Lindsay, where would I find it? Guides, that's where it is.
Are you looking in the Facebook group? You find it? Okay.
Yeah. Let me show you something we've done, guys. In the Facebook group, the Tradies Toolbox, which is the private Facebook group just for you. So it's got 40 members, which is all people who are our clients. If you go here, there are guides. Right, and we're going to start populating these guides with resources. So here's one, manage your team. So we've got Barry's. That was the operations coordinator and a handyman. I'm not sure if the handyman was yours or not, Barry. What happened there? There it is. Okay. This is an ad I saw and posted, and it didn't. The formatting didn't come across, so you have to imagine there are headlines and things like that. But look, are you tired of chasing work, invoicing, quoting, and getting paid? Not many opportunities like this around for a handyman or carpenter position. Both genders encouraged to apply. 75 grand plus super, plus a van, plus a phone. Right, it's quite an appealing ad, isn't it? I'm intrigued. It's certainly paying better than a lot of trade jobs pay as well. what's 75K a year? 37.50 an hour, right? So it's reasonably well paid with a car, a van as well. Talks about the work.
Who's that one from, John? And did you just see that ad, or you liked it, or?
I saw it and liked it. Yeah, it's not one of my clients. I saw it and liked it and thought, this is a good example. I'll put it in the group. We're all about solutions done properly, excellent workmanship. You need to be happy or prepared to learn hanging a picture or door, building a flat pack or a deck, what type of customer, working alone or with others, right? It's a well-written ad, right? Isn't it? I'm intrigued. I'd be interested in it if I had those skills, which I don't. But if I had those skills, I'd be interested, I'd find it appealing. It made me want to read it. I thought we might try and write some ads a bit like that today. Are you happy to start with Barry? Should we write Barry's electrician ad?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do 10 minutes on each of you. How many? Well, that's 4 by 10. Right, so we'll do one each. Shall I do it on my iPad just for the sake of keeping Lindsay happy? Lindsay, we've been using the iPad all morning. It's been very exciting.
Fantastic. Are you guys liking it? John's new toy? Much more interactive. But maybe flip it, John.
Oh, right, yeah. Good idea.
That way we can see it, and then just make sure maybe pin your screen.
What? Pin my screen?
Yeah, you can pin it so people can see. Or just make sure everybody's on the view speaker so that way they can see the screen better.
I can pin myself. But you can all see the iPad, can't you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Job ad. Electrician. Let's use a structure a bit like this. Let's have a headline, subheadline, subheading. Right, and then a little explanation or summary. Then we'll describe the type of work. The excellent conditions, the why you're going to like it. And the call to action. Okay? That makes sense? So that if the heading, it's a bit like what they said up here. Are you tired of chasing work, invoicing, quoting, and getting paid, right? So they're clearly aiming at people who work for themselves, aren't they? And that's the thing you can do that's one potential target market for you guys, isn't it? Somebody works for themselves and doesn't really like it. And I think that's a massive opportunity for people like you to hire people, is to find people who went out on their own and aren't having much fun. There's lots of them. There's lots of people who leave the world of being employed as a tradie because they think, I can do it as well as the boss, I can do that, and they see the boss making money and things. And then if you get out there and realize they're not very good at all that shit, or they don't like it, or they're embarrassed. People don't like putting themselves out there to find work. People aren't good at admin and invoicing, and people flop around, thinking that they're making 100K because they've got 100K in revenue, but really making 40 and 50K and being broke all the time. I meet them. Some of them speak to me and then run for the hills when I tell them what coaching costs, right? So they're out there. So that's an ad you can run, isn't it? Sick of working for yourself, don't like doing all the invoicing, quoting, chasing money, trying to get paid, don't like marketing, just want to do your trade. Come and work for us. We do all that. All you have to do is work with your hands and do the nice work, and that's it. So that's one option. I'm going to do another option for you first. Options or targets. Someone working for themselves. I reckon FIFOs. I reckon that's the thing. So we could write an ad and post it for people who are working on the fly-in, fly-outs on the mines or the oil rigs or whatever, and say you're sick of doing that. There'd be electricians doing that, wouldn't they? Did you just send me a job ad? Right. Small, right? Is this? Have you just pulled this off Seek?
Yeah, that's the one on Seek. It's a little bit better than, obviously on that it looks a lot better. I just copied it because it's won't let me send it to you because it's no longer available.
Well, you started there, right? So it starts with the basic stuff that Seek makes you say. You can't read it because the writing is small, but it says, bored in your current job, bored of the same work all day long, qualified electrician required to work in small team with varied and interesting work. We're a small electrical and property maintenance business working with a small and trusted group of real estate agencies and clients in Great Brisbane. We undertake electrical maintenance, service work, and some small build works, minor property maintenance jobs, handyman style works, minor and small renovations. Our values are professionalism, quality, integrity, communication, relationships, and fairness. The work is varied and interesting. You won't be bored. You'll be working somewhere different most days, doing different work every day, and you'll be working with a growing and ambitious team. There will be room to grow professionally and learn new and varying skills as the business grows. About you, you should be self-motivated, well-presented, and take pride in providing a high standard of quality work. Some requirements, white cards and driving licenses and things. 3 years post-trade experience in domestic and commercial electrical sectors, exceptional customer service and professional presentation, communication skills, ability to work independently, WH&S understanding and experience, excellent driving history. We offer you company vehicle, company uniform, company phone and tablet, generous pay rate, awesome goal-driven team, family-oriented. Not bad, is it? Let's tart it up. How can we make Barry's ad better, given what we've learned this morning? I'm not sharing the right screen, am I? Why did no one tell me? Can you see that now? No.
Now we see Barry.
Barry's. I fucked up something.
Who was that good looking bloke?
Yeah. I fucked something up earlier and I'm not quite sure what it was.
Oh, there again.
Yeah.
In three.
Let's go back to the iPad. So, what could we do to make Barry's ad more appealing? And let's think about some of these targets. Right? Let's start with the first one. Somebody working for themselves or somebody in a job that's not very fun. Right? And lots of electricians' jobs. Construction can be quite repetitive if you're on that kind of job site. Working for larger businesses can be quite repetitive. Right? You know, if you're working on construction where you're building apartment blocks and things like that, you're doing the same shit over and over again, right? So we're looking perhaps to use language to appeal to those kinds of people. Let me write it in here. So we'll start with a headline, which is going to be bigger in the ad. We're going to run it on Facebook. We're going to get a nice picture of you guys in your vans or something like that, Barry. People in uniforms. Right? Uniforms are quite appealing, aren't they? Then you don't have to provide your own clothes. You can wear uniforms and not have to spend money on clothes and not have to worry about clothes and things like that. So Anybody want to start me off with a headline? Come on, you all have to participate. You can't just sit there silently.
I guess a question's always quite engaging. Like,
I think a question is quite engaging, yeah.
I can't think of anything right now though.
You're a lot of help this morning, man.
Sorry.
Let's try.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something like, do you enjoy, you know, the part, if you're attracting someone who's gone into their own business and they're failing at it and they hate all the invoicing and the chasing, what is it that they really enjoy about what you're offering, Barry? Like, do you enjoy, we'd say, do you enjoy working outdoors with your hands? I don't know, in a challenging, varied environment.
Mm.
How about this? Do you wish you'd never gone out on your own? Should we try that? Someone's entered the waiting room. Who's that? So we're aiming at that kind of thing, right? Do you wish you'd never gone out on your own? Then the sub-headline would be, we're following the same thing really, aren't we? If you're sick of all the business admin, chasing work, chasing money, raising invoices, doing quotes at night. Why not work with us?
Work for us.
You know, and then we'll explain what working with us is, right?
Yeah.
Being an electrician, we'll find all the work. You'll be employed. You get you have a job and a car and a vehicle and a uniform. And you get to go back to working on the tools, working with your hands, doing the work you love. Hey, Wayne.
Yeah. Without the hassle.
Without the hassle, right?
Yeah. Reliable income, you know.
All right, I like that. Get back on the tools. Let us find the work and manage all the admin. You stick to doing the work you love. That's another benefit, isn't it?
Yeah.
No more inconsistent money. Every week. What do we want to say about the work?
Varied and interesting.
Yeah.
Maintenance style work.
No two jobs the same.
No two jobs the same, always changing.
We're a professional electrical services and property maintenance business. I liked what you said, working with property managers. In Brisbane. You will not be bored.
I'm not to want to be bored.
The work is varied and interesting. You'll meet people all day long. What else did you say?
Well supported, training.
I'll come back to that in a minute. Do we need to say anything more about the work? Not really, do we?
I think you kind of need to pander to people's egos a little bit too somewhere. And basically, you know, talk about, you know, you're looking for someone who knows how to do this job and is, you know, specialist or I don't know, whatever it is.
No, I'm hearing you.
People like to think that they're a specialist and that someone's going to appreciate their particular skills.
That's what I was thinking as well. Just written, put your skills and trade experience to work. If they're in a job that they're not feeling like they're progressing and they do have licenses or.
Problem solving. Do we say we pride ourselves on, you know, finding creative solutions to problems and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that?
Can't see it.
Can't see it. Where's it gone?
Oh, it's just small.
It's small.
Maybe, John, maybe you can pin yourself for spotlight yourself for everybody.
Can I?
You know how to do that?
No, how do I do that? Do I do that?
Just hover over the top 3 and like pin yourself. There's like a little button if you hover over the 3. Do you see that?
In Zoom?
Yeah.
How's that? Big now. Is that better?
I can see it.
Sorry?
I see Barry Big or whoever's speaking.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Well, hang on. Let me try again. I can't even see me at all. No, I've pinned John Dale. Is that better now? What can you see, guys? Vince, what can you see?
I've pinned you so I can see you. But is he spotlighted? Who are you seeing?
You should be seeing the iPad.
Mm. I can see it too because I've pinned you. Everyone could just pin you. You can do it the other way.
Yeah, pin.
Yeah, you just hover over John and you pin him.
Sorry, where do you do that?
God, you say Wednesday.
Oh, it's okay. It's just you hover at the top. In the top, you see like the tile of our faces. Find John. There's like a little 3 dots. Click that and say pin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So now you have to try and read my writing. It says, put your skills and trade experience to work. Problem solving. We pride ourselves on providing creative solutions to problems for our clients. We want to build a team of smart, creative trade specialists. Is that you? And remember, I'm just spitballing as well, right? I'm not a job ad writer, but that's the kind of, we're trying to make it appealing and interesting, right? Helen, you said we want to appeal to their egos a bit. That kind of does that, doesn't it? We're kind of doing that there.
Mm.
You know? So let's talk about, I like what Basque can offer you, or you know, paying conditions. Why work for us? In addition to an enjoyable job, we love. What will we love? The pay. Let's talk about the pay, right? It's permanent, full-time. What was it, Barry? 35 to 39 an hour?
Yeah.
Why do we put a range? I'm always confused by a range.
It depends on virtually the skill level of each different tradesman. If it's someone that's only sort of a year or two out of their time, they're not going to be as experienced as someone that, say, had 10 or 15 years of.
It says minimum 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm always torn with this. I don't know that there's a right answer, right? But I'm looking at 35 to 39 an hour. I'm going, fuck, I bet they offer me 35. If they don't offer me 39.99, I'm going to be pissed off. Is that a thing?
Or do we just get rid of the dollar figure and pay negotiable?
No, I think you need to put the dollars on so that otherwise people are suspicious and don't apply. Let's leave it. Let's leave the range. I might do a bit of research on what thoughts are about the ranges. Okay. Paid holidays. Paid public holidays. This is important. You know, lots of businesses don't do that, right? Lots of businesses pay people on contract or by hours. You don't get paid your public holidays. So if you're paying them, let's say you do, don't you, Barry?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So let's tell them. Let's make it clear. Company car. Hang on. That's not right. Company car. Are we providing a brand new company car, Barry?
Oh, it's got 20,000 Ks on the clock.
Near new. Nearly new company car. Can they take it home?
Yeah.
Petrol card?
Yeah.
You see what I'm doing now, right? Rather than just say company vehicle, I'm saying petrol card, it's amazing. I'm sexing it up a bit. We don't need to go overboard, but we're going to sex it up a bit. Company phone, is it a phone or a tablet?
Tablet.
That might not be too exciting. Now, what else? What else do we want to say? What else is nice about working for you? What did we say this morning about you, Barry? We were talking about some of those lovely little benefits, weren't they? The Friday, the 9-day fortnights.
Staff development, a monthly staff development day. Is it the uniform?
How we invest in you? We provide uniforms, so you don't need to worry about work clothes. Monthly what? Staff development day?
Yeah.
John, could you put something in there about possibility of the bonus if your company works that way?
Yeah, absolutely, you could. Yeah, we might even go and put that up with the money up here, right? The pay.
And we've been having a conversation here about whether you put the range. We were thinking it might be better to just say what it is, the hourly rate you're looking for, say how many years experience you're looking for, and put negotiable on the years experience. So if someone comes in with less experience than what you had asked for, you could then say, well, we're saying we're paying 35, but maybe...
But you're not 3 years experience, you're only 2, so maybe we can negotiate with that. You didn't quite meet the criteria of the ad, or if
I see what you mean. Yeah, I quite like that idea. So $40 an hour for the experienced candidate.
Yeah. I just think that if you put the range in the dollars, that people automatically want to negotiate that, whereas if you put the negotiation in the experience, not so much the dollars, then you can negotiate with them at the time based on their experience, and you just say we're paying $37 an hour, that's what we're paying. Or someone with 3 years experience negotiable, they come in, they've only done 1 year, okay, well our ad was $37 for 3 years, we're going to give you a bit less. Or you come in, you're 15 years experience, we're going to pay you a bit more than the 37. But don't have them coming in with the dollar value like in their head that they're going to negotiate that straight away.
Yeah. Remember that the ad's job is to get them to apply.
Yeah, true.
And you can renegotiate things in the interview, can't you? You can say, look, you're not as experienced as we want, but you seem pretty good. Would you consider a more junior role until you've got more experience?
Yeah.
You can do that in the interview. So maybe we do. Maybe instead of the range, you go 3 years experience required, $40.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it also comes down to, say for our side, depends what licenses they've got. They might be an A grade experienced of 5 years and have no other licenses for aircon, data, excavation license, to drive the excavator and things. But if someone comes in with that, they're obviously going to be paid more because it's going to alleviate the things that Ben has to do for someone who doesn't have the licenses. So I reckon it's experience with the licenses as well, not just the years.
It's a tricky thing, this, how much to pay. And maybe it's a whole other topic. I was going to ask you all to share what you pay people today. So maybe we'll do that in a little bit. Remind me of that, because I forget things. But let's think about that, how much we pay. Maybe what we do is we plan a pay structure for your business. Okay, so what we all tend to be is a little bit ad hoc, isn't it? And we wing it a bit, and we say, oh, you're a bit more useful because you can drive a tipper or whatever, or you've got a bit more experience. Maybe we say the pay rate for this job is this much. This is a level 2 tech, looking for a level 2 tech or a level 1 tech, and you're just going to pay $40 an hour, bang. And if you're good enough for it, you can have the job. That's what we should have, right? We should have pay grades, and you can see your progress up the pay ladder. Do you know what I mean? And it should almost be published, right? You're here. Your next promotion, you go here and apply for this job when you've got 2 more years. Who finds that appealing?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. There's no right answers here, right? Most people wing it, and most companies kind of wing it, and most people get frustrated when they realise that other people are getting paid more than them. Do you know what I mean? And most people do tell each other how much they get paid, and then you get frustration and conflict between your staff, or from the lower paid people are upset with you. But let's leave it. I'll come back to thinking about that later. Let's carry on with writing the ad. So there's a monthly staff development day. What do we say about that? Why is that good? Are you going to improve your skills? You'll get better. We'll train you. Let me write that. What else did we want to say, Barry, about you? You've got this nice office. You know, are we putting ping pong in there?
Probably not.
I've always got this idea, you know, they say about Google and that, how they've all got bean bags and foosball tables and shit, and everybody wants to work for Google because it's the place to work, right?
I think they've even got sleep pods.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is, you know, that's that slightly strange culture where people work long hours and things as well, right? But we're talking about how we look after them, how is it nice for them. We're talking about how we invest in you here. Uniforms, start development day.
I mean, is there something about team bonding or team building as a part of, like, do you do like a Friday afternoon, Barry, or a lunch, or?
Yeah, well, that's usually part of our sort of monthly development day.
Yeah. And I don't know, depending on the type of role, maybe, but for us, we've said in the past something along the lines of receive mentorship from highly experienced industry professionals, or like maybe, I know that you've got staff development day, but if it's a role where they might work underneath someone, you know, that idea of being mentored, you know, within their career could be appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, that's certainly,
you know, maybe that's more of like an apprenticeship role, or from maybe I'm just thinking through the lens of our business, but for now they work underneath Nick or the senior person we have. So there is that mentorship happening all the time on site, both in the way we want them to deliver work, so it's in line with our company values, but, you know, to help them progress in their skills and development.
yeah, certainly food for thought for where we're at. Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's say this, because what did we say? You're going to grow with the business, I think. We said that somewhere.
Mm.
Yeah.
Our business is growing. Rapidly, let's say rapidly. You can expect opportunities to grow in your career, or grow with us in your career, something like that, right? Is that a strong enough statement? I don't want to be, it's very dangerous here to say too many bland things, right? You have to say specific things, or it just sounds like every other job ad.
Mm.
So we need to say specific things, right? Which is why I've tried to focus on specific things. So the bonus scheme is important. I know you don't have one yet, Barry, but, you know, we could write one and say there's a bonus scheme with profit share, or we could say, you know, don't put it in if you don't have one yet, but down the track you might develop one, right? And this is something we'll talk about this afternoon, is as you get a bit bigger and there's profits around, you should have some kind of a scheme, and you should be able to share that joy a little bit, I think. First, of course. We don't need headlines, do we, to interrupt us? What else do we want to say? Bearing in mind what we talked about this morning, what else do we want to say about the business? How do we look after, how does your business, Barry, kind of look after people in their home lives, or their family lives, or their...
I don't think they care about us being in the business. I think they care about their family.
Yeah, we usually say we're a family-owned business, but I don't know whether people care less if we're a family-owned business.
I don't think people care less. It implies certain things for people like us, but in a job ad, I think we need to be more explicit about what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me too, I don't know, maybe maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like sometimes that can imply that, I don't know, it can be a bit messy, or there's like a bit of entanglement between family dynamics and the workplace, and yeah, maybe slightly, but maybe a deterrent.
I mean, that probably comes from your experience of actually knowing what a family-run business is like.
Yeah, and I've worked for a couple of them too, and they're very different work environments, obviously. Yeah.
I think it's good. I think we have to remember this is a job ad, and we're selling it as a good thing. So I think, you know, we're heading for, we're nice people, you'll like working for us because we're nice and decent, right? So I think we need to say that and say specifically what that means, right?
Yeah.
What do we like? Why do we care about you? Or you know, something like we want to be a business that supports you in your life, your home life and your family life.
Exactly. Like maybe thinking about what the positive values are behind a family-run business, and just using some of those words, you know, like a caring workplace or flexible with family, home life.
Yeah, and I think let's say those things. Yeah. So what do we say? We're a family-run business. And we understand your family is important too.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah. When we interview my guys, we always say something like that, and we say, you know, if they've got young kids, a lot of them, we say, you know, we encourage you to go to the sports event or the Easter hat parade and all that sort of thing. We encourage that. Yeah, not a problem. Time off's not a problem.
Yeah, look, a lot of these things you do, right? Because you're decent people, you do that.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we say that in a job ad and make that something that's...
Well, that looks pretty good, something like that. We're a family-run business.
Understand your family's important too.
Yeah.
Do we say any more? Do we say, you know, you'll be able to take time off and adjust your days to attend school events?
Yeah, it's specific, isn't it? Yeah. I've found that actually offering that to them and encouraging it, what they do is they go to the event and then they actually come back to work. When really, I thought they might have taken sort of the rest of the day off, but a lot of them just seem to be going away for a couple of hours and coming back.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like offering that openness around, you know, it's okay to go to those events. They're kind of, I don't know, there's a reciprocal behaviour from them in the sense they want to just give that time back to you as much as they can. Whereas I find with some of our younger guys, they kind of hide behind, you know, like they'll book an appointment or something in the middle of the day, or there'll be a reason for them to take a day off.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe they only need a couple of hours or they need half a day. Yeah.
You're setting the scene, right? It's you saying this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go to school and go to the, you know, the whatever it is, the parent-teacher morning. You can.
Yeah.
And then come back, right? That's the culture part that we'll talk more about in an hour or so. And then they're closely related, right? I think Patrick said it in his video, didn't they? You know, what you're actually like and what you tell people you're going to be like in the ad need to be the same, right? So if we say, you know, your family's important, you can go to school events, you have to mean it, and you have to set the scene that says this is how it's going to be. You go to school events and then come home.
I think if you're trying to attract someone that's been in their own business, which is where this job started at the top, yeah, someone that's running their own business probably did have the flexibility to be able to do some of those things. And they also probably don't want to be micromanaged too much either.
And if you work for us, you're not going to lose that.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So do we go back up to the top and we say, if you're sick of all the business admin, blah, 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 why not work with us? Get back on the tools, let us find the work and manage all the admin, but keep the flexibility.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not going to want to be micromanaged, and they're not going to want to be.
That's going to be their fear.
A lot of guys don't want to work for someone else.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They don't actually.
Maybe we'll go back down there. How we invest in you. You know, we don't micromanage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just write it in here, right? Now I know this is just handwritten and a bit scrawly, but is it helping? Are we heading in the right direction?
I think it's certainly a different direction. Like we're targeting a particular group or persons here, I think, with this one so far.
Yeah, look, and what we'll do after is rewrite it, adapt it for the other targets, right?
Yeah.
So you can post and run different ads that attract different people that are really the same ad with a different headline, right? So we could write almost the same ad and not say, "Are you sick of working for yourself?" But oh shit, what happened there? But you know, are you sick of doing a boring job, or would you like to change your job? Or so we can adapt it. See what I mean? Is there anything else we want to write here? I really want you to think about being able to articulate the truth about why it's nice to work for you. Okay, and the reality of that. And it's quite hard to do. It's quite hard to put into words, isn't it?
I think if this was mine, John, I think probably the only parts I'd add to that is just that our values, and then what we're actually the requirements that we're after, being the
who you are, and we'll put what you like, right? And I don't mind that. Those requirements and experience are fine, but let's talk about a bit more about you. Self-motivated, well presented, proud of doing good work, enjoy challenges, let's put some stuff in like that, right? Enjoy being challenged, enjoy thinking for yourself, all those things, right? So I'll put as above. Enjoy thinking for yourself. Enjoy autonomy at work.
Enjoy running a team, you know.
or being part of a team.
Well, being part of a team, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking along the lines that if for what we'd require, so that would be someone running, apart from being part of our whole team, they'd be running their own team. But sorry, I was thinking.
Yeah, that's right. No.
Line there.
Yeah.
I think, or maybe enjoy being part of a team and or leading it and leading.
Yeah, stick apprentices or employees or something.
Let's put enjoy taking a leadership role. And supporting, you know, younger employees, right? Younger team members. Should we stop and move on from this? Do you think we've finished? I mean, it's quite a long job description, job ad, isn't it?
There's something about enjoying problem solving or something along those lines.
Well, let's do that. You enjoy
yeah,
solving problems. I think we wrote something up above that before, didn't we?
Did you? Yeah.
So, okay. Should we do another one? Does somebody else want to put up a job ad? Or in the interest of not spending too long on the details of things, would you all like to write a job ad that you submit and we'll look at on Thursday in the group call? Ooh, let's do that. Let's give you some homework. You can all write your next job ad for the next hire you're going to have, and we'll all compare notes on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll get the notes on Barry's, the electrician job ad.
I'm going to send it now.
Great.
How do I share it to someone? Lindsay?
Email.
Email. PDF, yeah. All right, Barry. Okay. Why is it doing that to me? Are you still Helen at Beta Care? You are, aren't you, Helen? All right. I'll take my time to do this because it's taking
Probably under Ben.
It might be under Ben. I'll tell you what, watch this. Lindsay, can you follow? Well, I'll be here all day, won't we? If I don't try and do that.
Yeah, well done, John. Bit of delegating.
I know, right? I'm learning. So let's do that. Let's agree. Write one, bring it on Thursday. We'll compare notes, we'll critique each other's, and we'll make them better. Then you can decide if you're going to post them. All right. So if I step back for a minute, right, we've talked about finding people. And I've talked about the hiring process, which I'm not going to spend ages on because that's in the training, right? But the idea is you write the job description first, then you write the attributes you want, then you write your job ad. And we've talked today about making sure we make it appealing, right? Both the job and the ad. I want to talk a little bit about getting the message out to more people, right? Which is partly why I asked Patrick to present. What a lot of us do is we write a Poxy job ad and then we post it somewhere Poxy like Seek, and not many people see it. And we think we've done the job, right? So like Patrick said, it's marketing. So I want you to think like that. Think about how you're gonna put the word out when you're wanting to hire somebody. So you can go and spend your money with Patrick and pay for his service and run Facebook ads to large audiences, right? Large audiences of people. That to me is a valid way to market your job. You can also, and what a lot of people do is they just chuck it on Facebook as a post on their page or something. And of course, you know who sees that, don't you? Not many people, right? If you post a thing on your Facebook page, 10% of the people who follow your page see the ad or something, right? A small number. So you probably should do that. But if you only do that, you're not getting very many eyes on your ad. So I want you to think about how many eyes you get on your ad, right? You can start posting ads into Facebook groups. You can post them in local notice boards. Remember in the old days when you posted them, you went to the job center? You know, you can, a lot of the recruitment consultants, if you go to a recruitment consultant, they ring their list of people, right? So they have a list of people, they'll have a list of tradies or electricians that they've got the phone numbers of, right? And if they win a contract from you to place someone, they'll put an ad on Seek and maybe one in the paper and charge you for it. But they'll also ring all the electricians they know and say, hey, there's a job going here, right? You do have to play the numbers game a bit. And Patrick said it in his video, you know, what about posting ads at the suppliers? Do they have job boards, notice boards at Hayes and people like that? Can you take advantage of that? You should be jumping on some of those, you know, electricians groups on Facebook, and posting your ad around as well. I'd post it in the paper as well, I think, in the local paper. So you can attract people. You know what I mean? You need to think a bit differently from just, I've written an ad, I put it on Seek, and all the applicants are shit. There's no one looking out there. There's no one good out there, right? Which is what everyone does. So how are you going to get your job ad out there? How are you going to get eyes on your ad? Okay. There are some options, aren't there, for how to recruit. There's the DIY option that we've just been talking about, where you write your own ad and you post it somewhere, or you post it in a few places, and you spend the advertising budget, and then you get applicants in, and you look at the resumes, and you filter the resumes, and you bin most of them because they're all shit. And then you interview a few people, and then you hire somebody. Right? There's that system, and there's a system where you use a recruitment consultant. And that will cost you between 6 and 10 grand, won't it? For a tradesperson, they charge 10 or 15% of the annual salary usually. And what happens then is they do all the work for you. They write the ad, they filter the resumes, they interview people, and then they bring you people who, have already gone through some of the filters. And presumably you get access to their network. Let me stop my screen sharing. I don't know how to do this. So you can see my face. Okay, so they do a lot of the work for you. And you have to hope that you get a bit more than if you just did your own ad on Seek, right? You have to hope that they write a better ad, that your ad gets seen more, and that you get access to their network of people, that they're calling people and doing it for you. And you also have to hope that they're filtering properly for you, don't you? That they're going to interview people or filter resumes and only send to you good people who meet your criteria. And my experience says that's not always the case, right? And that the system's a bit rigged because they get paid to place someone, and they quite often just sort of shove people at you who aren't very suitable, don't they? So there are good recruitment consultants and bad ones, I think. Right, and the good ones do a good job and filter properly and do the interviewing, and the bad ones don't. So if you're going to use a recruitment consultant, take care to find a good one. And then you've got the middle ground, which is Patrick's thing, right, which automates some of it for you. Right, I like it because it goes to Facebook, but there's nothing to stop you deciding that you can write a nice ad and run an ad on Facebook. Right? If you understand how to manage the audiences and things like that, you can run an ad on Facebook and you don't have to use Patrick, right?
John, do you know, I think it is because it's all umbrellaed under what they call Meta now, but what about it in Instagram? So is it the way you set up advertising in Facebook the same process in Instagram?
Yeah, it is. You actually just click a button that says show to Instagram.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But the thing about Facebook advertising is the audience selection. So you can run an ad that just goes to Byron or Byron Shire or with 20Ks from your house and things like that, which is probably fine in Byron and probably not so fine in Brisbane because, Brisbane's got so many people, so you're not focusing. So you can try and attract audiences like tradespeople. So you can say people who like Bunnings and people who like trade tools and things like that, or people who like Haymans. So you can focus your advertising down a bit like that. And that's why somebody who knows about Facebook ads is useful. Otherwise you can waste money basically. It just gets shown to everybody and then no one gives a shit. So there's work to be done. If you don't know much about Facebook ads, it's probably worth asking someone to do it for you, whether it's Patrick or someone else. All right. I'm going to stop us for a little break again, and then we're going to come back and we talk about how to keep people. Are you happy to move on from how to find the good people?
Yeah.
you've got your homework for us to discuss. Let's have a quick, do you want 10 minutes or do you want to stop for lunch? It's 12:30. Do you want some lunch? Do you want half an hour?
Yeah, half an hour's good.
Let's take half an hour, grab some lunch, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock. Thanks, guys. Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, good. Finding your iPad a bit quiet.
A bit quiet.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You sound very quiet. Whenever anyone else is speaking, they're quite clear and loud. It sounds like you're a little quiet.
That's weird. I'm on my computer as well.
Yeah. No.
Well, thanks. Thanks for that. I didn't know.
No, look, that's just me. Others, I don't know about the others, but
yeah.
Anyway, fun and games.
Fun and games, indeed.
Oh, yeah. That was a good half hour. Let's put a toilet back together.
You're supposed to have lunch and relax.
Lunch? I did relax. I'm learning how to do an international money transfer. But I put together a toilet anyway as well.
I need you at my house or your trades today, Barry. Now that there's no trades in here, oh my gosh, I'm getting our ensuite flooded into my study 6 weeks after we moved in.
Yeah.
And it's a rental because we're building on our block, so we've moved in here for 12 months. So we've been here now 3.5 months and they've just started. So the study is out in the lounge room with all the kids' toys that was also in the study.
Is that why you've hidden the background today, is it?
Oh, look, it's in the middle of the lounge room and there's kids stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to blur myself. And it's noisy, so I've had the headphones. And now the ensuite part apparently isn't going to be ready till, or the shower base won't arrive for 3 weeks. And they're like, yeah, we'll just do that early next year. And I was like, nah, not very happy actually, but at least I'll get the study back.
Yeah.
That's right. Have you asked for some compensation from your agent?
Well, there's been lots of things happen since we moved in because the new owner took over like 5 days before we moved in. But as tenants, I realised not my problem, none of it. So the roller door didn't work and there's a fence that's falling down, which, whatever. And so the poor new owner's gone through a lot. And I did ask the other day, I said, do we just keep paying the same rent when we're a bathroom and a bedroom down? We paid for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom rent. She's like, oh, we thought this would come up. We'll talk about it when the works are all done and we'll work it out. And I just went, you know what, it doesn't matter.
No.
We're talking about it now.
Yeah, we're minus a bedroom. We haven't got an ensuite. We've paid for, let's say if you're paying $500 a week for a 4-bedroom house, you take a percentage of that bedroom out that you can't use in your ensuite, say 20%, take that off your 500, there's $400, $100 in your pocket, and Ben and Hayley can go to the pub, go out for dinner once a week.
Yes. I know. I just feel like, as calm and patient as we've been, and I'm trying to help out, like, okay,
no, don't.
Sort the carpet. Why?
It pushes them to get things done quicker. It usually escalates a property manager to actually start working.
Yeah, the property manager's done well. I referred her to some trades who do insurance work, even though it's not through insurance because that's what we do, insurance work as well. And the estimator for the job is probably where the problem lies. But anyway, so whatever. Anyway, send your trades.
I would be definitely asking for some reimbursing.
Okay, thanks.
Especially if it's already been a few weeks already.
Oh, 2.5 months, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd be asking for
is just go, I think I should only pay 3/4 of the rent for the last 3 months, so I'm only going to pay this much for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They're not going to evict you, are they?
No. Frustrating.
Typically, they will get on the phone and give you people doing it, a bit of an earful, and go from there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All fun and games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's just been pelting down here most of the day, so everything that we had outside to do today has all been postponed, which is awesome.
It was all outdoor work as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, because when we booked it in last week, at the start or about this time last week, the forecast said it was clear. It's supposed to be nice and clear this time. So there's a bit of an art in trying to schedule things around everybody summertime or summer or stormy season or wet season here in bloody Brisbane at the moment.
Yeah.
I think him and Nick are in landscaping, and they have a lot of weather frustration.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's I can certainly understand why I think she's been talking about that a clause that they've had in their agreement, because as you typically most of their stuff is outdoors, and you'd have to have something like that to make it viable for people to do it.
Yeah.
So there'd probably be something like that in most concrete ones as well, I'd say.
Yeah, probably. I first experienced tradies getting rained off when I was about, I don't know, I must have been 35. I just started being a business coach, so I was working at home. I wasn't in the city. I skipped down to Newport for a coffee. I saw one of my tradie mates walking along the street with a guitar in his hand and a joint in the other hand. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What the fuck's going on? And he went, rain day. I'm going around to some friend's house. We're going to make music and smoke pot. And I was like, I never got a rain day. I've never had a rain day. I was quite jealous.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Depends which way you look at it, doesn't it? When you're paying their wages, it's very different to when you get a day off. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I realise I've fucked up the thing. I'm going to try and share my screen. Tell me if you can see desktop 2 or if you can only see Barry. Can you see my emails?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right. So, you don't need to see my emails. I'll show you that. Right, so we've done some work on finding good people, right? Which is, I'm going to recap a little bit, which is mostly about two main things. One, making sure the job is appealing and writing an interesting ad so that people go, ooh, I'd like that. And two, about putting the word out there properly rather than just bunging it on Seek where the same old idiots see it, right? So there are two main things you need to do if you want to be more successful attracting good people, particularly in today's, somewhat straitened climate when everyone's already got a job. So I'm also going to talk this afternoon about keeping them, how to keep hold of your people. Okay, obviously, if we can find good people and then keep them, you don't have to replace them so often. If you can reduce employee turnover, that's a good thing. You don't have to, put the effort and the money into going out there to recruit again. So we all know how disruptive it is when somebody leaves who's good. I won't talk about somebody who turns out not to be as good as we hoped, which is a different thing. But I'm talking about when you've got some good ones, how to keep them as long as possible. Okay? And I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to share a video with you in a minute by a chap called Dan Pink. He wrote a book called, I think it's called Drive on Motivation, or Drive, the Interesting Science About What Motivates Us. And I'll play the TED talk because it's only 10 minutes and it's quite fun. But I'm gonna translate that from him to tradies, okay? And what we do when we talk about work and motivating people and hiring people, we focus a lot on the money. We focus a lot on the money, and it's not what motivates people the most at work. Okay, so we've talked this morning about how to make the job appealing, and we've talked about the benefits, and I'm kind of on that track a little bit, but there's a bit more to it as well. Okay, so you ready to watch? Okay. This one. Can you see it here okay? It's animated, so we get cartoons as well.
Our motivations are unbelievably interesting. I mean, I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find the topic still so amazingly engaging and interesting. So I want to tell you about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky, okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay, so if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay, we've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers. We ignore the low performers and the other folks kind of in the middle. Okay, you get a little bit. So what happens? They do the test. They have these incentives. Here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involved only mechanical skill, bonuses worked as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better the performance. Okay, that makes sense. But here's what happens. But once the task called for even rudimentary cognitive skill, a larger reward led to poorer performance.
Did you hear that? Bigger reward, poorer performance. Goes against everything we think, doesn't it? Wanted to point that out because I think that's the most interesting part of the entire video.
This is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance. How can that possibly be? Now, what's interesting about this is that these folks here who did this are all economists, 2 at MIT, 1 at the University of Chicago, 1 at Carnegie Mellon, okay, the top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion that seems contrary to what a lot of us learned in economics, which is that the higher the reward, the better the performance. And they're saying that once you get above rudimentary cognitive skill, it's the other way around, which seems like this kind of, the idea that these rewards don't work that way seems vaguely left-wing and socialist, doesn't it? It's kind of this kind of weird socialist conspiracy. For those of you who have those conspiracy theories, I want to point out the notoriously left-wing socialist group that financed the research, the Federal Reserve Bank. So this is the mainstream of the mainstream coming to a conclusion that's quite surprising, seems to defy the laws of behavioral physics. So this is strange. It's strange finding. So what do? They say, this is freaky. Let's go test it somewhere else. Maybe that $50 or $60 prize isn't sufficiently motivating for an MIT student, right? So let's go to a place where $50 is actually more significant relatively, right? So let's take the experiment. We're going to go to Madurai, India, rural India, where $50, $60, whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent of 2 weeks' salary. Small performance, low performance, 2 weeks' salary, medium performance, about a month's salary, high performance, about 2 months' salary. Okay, so those are real good incentives. Okay, so you're going to get a different result here. Well, what happened though was that the people offered the medium reward did no better than the people offered the small reward. But this time around, the people offered the top reward, they did worst of all. Higher incentives led to worse performance. What's interesting about this is that it actually isn't all that anomalous. This has been replicated over and over and over again by psychologists, by some extent by sociologists, and by economists, over and over and over again. For simple, straightforward tasks, those kinds of incentives, if you do this, then you get that, they're great. For tasks that are algorithmic, set of rules where you have to just follow along and get a right answer, if then rewards, carrots and sticks, outstanding. But when the task gets more complicated, when it requires some conceptual creative thinking, those kinds of motivators demonstrably don't work. In fact, money is a motivator at work, but in a slightly strange way. If you don't pay people enough, they won't be motivated. What's curious about, there's another paradox here, which is that the best use of money as a motivator is to pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table. Pay people enough so that they're not thinking about money and they're thinking about the work. Now, once you do that, it turns out there are three factors that the science shows lead to better performance, not to mention personal satisfaction. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is our desire to be self-directed, to direct our own lives. Now, in many ways, traditional notions of management run afoul of that. Management is great if you want compliance, but if you want engagement, which is what we want in the workforce today as people are doing more complicated, sophisticated things, self-direction is better. Let me give you some examples of this, of almost radical forms of self-direction in the workplace that lead to good results. Let's start with this company right here, Atlassian, an Australian company. It's a software company, and they do something really cool. Once a quarter on a Thursday afternoon, they say to their developers, for the next 24 hours, you can work on anything you want. You can work on it the way you want. You can work on it with whomever you want. All we ask is that you show the results to the company at the end of those 24 hours in this fun kind of meeting, not a star chamber session, but this fun meeting with beer and cake and fun and other things like that. It turns out that that one day of pure undiluted autonomy has led to a whole array of fixes for existing software, a whole array of ideas for new products that otherwise would never emerge. One day. Now, this is not an if-then incentive. This is not the sort of thing that I would have done 3 years ago before I knew this research. I would have said, you want people to be creative and innovative? Give them a freaking innovation bonus. If you can do something cool, I'll give you $2,500. They're not doing this at all. They're essentially saying, you probably want to do something interesting. Let me just get out of your way. One day of autonomy produces things that have never emerged. Now, let's talk about mastery. Mastery is our urge to get better at stuff. We like to get better at stuff. This is why people play musical instruments on the weekend. You have all these people who are acting in ways that seem irrational economically. They play musical instruments on weekends. Why? It's not going to get them a mate. It's not going to make them any money. Why are they doing it? Because it's fun, because you get better at it, and that's satisfying. Go back in time a little bit. I imagine this if I went to my first economics professor, a woman named Mary Alice Schulman, and I went to her in 1983 and said, Professor Schulman, can I talk to you after class for a moment? Yeah. I got this inkling. I got this idea for a business model. I just want to run it past you. Here's how it would work. You get a bunch of people around the world who are doing highly skilled work, but they're willing to do it for free and volunteer their time, 20, sometimes 30 hours a week. Okay, you're looking at somewhat skeptically there. Oh, but I'm not done. And then what they create, they give it away rather than sell it. It's going to be huge. But she truly would have thought I was insane. Okay, it seemed to fly in the face of so many things. But what do you have? You have Linux powering 1 out of 4 corporate servers in Fortune 500 companies, Apache powering more than the majority of web servers, Wikipedia. What's going on? Why are people doing this? Why are these people, many of whom are technically sophisticated, highly skilled people who have jobs? Okay, they have jobs. They're working at jobs for pay, doing sophisticated technological work. And yet, during their limited discretionary time, they do equally, if not more, technically sophisticated work, not for their employer, but for someone else for free. That's a strange economic behavior. Economists have looked into it. Why are they doing this? It's overwhelmingly clear. Challenge and mastery, along with making a contribution. That's it. What you see more and more is a rise of what you might call the purpose motive, is that more and more organizations want to have some kind of transcendent purpose, partly because it makes coming to work better, partly because that's the way to get better talent. And what we're seeing now is, in some ways, when the profit motive becomes unmoored from the purpose motive, bad things happen. Bad things ethically sometimes, but also bad things, just like not good stuff, like crappy products, like lame services, like uninspiring places to work. That when the profit motive is paramount, or when it becomes completely unhitched from the purpose motive, it just, people don't do great things. More and more organizations are realizing this and sort of disturbing the categories between what's profit and what's purpose. And I think that actually heralds something interesting. And I think that the organizations that are flourishing, whether they're profit, for profit, or somewhere in between, are animated by this purpose model. Let me give you a couple of examples. Here's the founder of Skype. He says, our goal is to be disruptive, but in the cause of making the world a better place. Pretty good purpose. Here's Steve Jobs. I want to put a ding in the universe. All right? That's the kind of thing that might get you up in the morning racing to go to work. So I think that that we are purpose maximizers, not only profit maximizers. I think the science shows that we care about mastery very, very deeply. And the science shows that we want to be self-directed. And I think that the big takeaway here is that if we start treating people like people and not assuming that they're simply horses, slower, smaller, better smelling horses, if we get past this kind of ideology of carrots and sticks and look at the science, I think we can actually build organizations and work lives that make us better off. But I also think they have the promise to make our world just a little bit better.
How about that? Interesting, isn't it? So, obviously, that's very American, and it's very, he's a bit focused on the IT and technology industries. But there are three things that motivate us at work, right? I want to focus on those three things and think about how tradies can do it in your business. Guys, did you just miss that, or have you just joined us and missed it, or did you see some of it? Helen,
we saw it.
We saw it. We just didn't want you to see us eating.
Fair enough. Okay, good. I'm glad you saw it. Okay, so let's think about how that research applies to our businesses, to your businesses, to trade businesses. So there are three things that motivate people at work, right? We've got to pay them enough so that money's not the thing, and then stop thinking that more money is going to motivate them, either to work harder or to stay here, okay? Because it's not. And I have lots of conversations with people, right? We talk about bonuses. We talk about paying people some of the upsell revenue and encouraging them to do the upsell questions. We talk about paying them bonuses to be on time and on budget and things like that, right? Don't do that. It makes them perform worse. So don't do that, right? Don't do any kind of performance-based pay, even though it sounds like it should work. The research from MIT says it doesn't. Okay. So what should you do? And I don't know that I want to sit here and go, let's do things to make them perform better. Let's do things to motivate them and make the world a little bit better, right? And let's talk about making your business a place that people want to come to work in and work hard and enjoy work and want to stay working for, right? So you need to think about your pay, and you need to continually make sure that the way you pay and the amount you pay is good, right? So Mim, you said you like to pay a bit above the market, right? You probably should do some research every year to make sure that you're still paying the market.
Yeah,
you won't be, and then you'll be caught out and you'll be embarrassed, and you'll lose that, right? So you probably should do some basic, how much should we be paying research?
Yeah.
But then the other thing is this autonomy, mastery, and making some kind of transcendent contributions and purpose. I'm going to try and talk about all three of those things in a set. And then culture, right? That becomes part of our culture. So we've talked about what I like to call the hygiene issues, the massage therapist, taking them out for lunch, the RDOs or the 9-day fortnights, and all those nice things that can make it nicer to work there. I think they're very important, right? And they're part of the culture of your business. I like to think of the culture part as how we look after you, how we look after each other, and the reciprocal nature of it, right? So who said reciprocal today? I think it might, I'm not sure who it was. One of you did. May's pointing at Helen. Was it Helen? Somebody said reciprocal, right? And there's truth in that, right? If in life we have a strong need to reciprocate if someone does something positive for us, don't we? Right? If someone does a nice thing for me, I'm inclined to want to do a nice thing back for them, right? And that's a common human behavior. So I like to carry that into the culture, right? If you look after them culturally as a business, as your employees, probably they will look after you and the business in return. And I think you should strive for that, right? And that's why I talk about all this culture stuff, or partly why I talk about all that culture stuff. So think about your culture, and I'm going to ask you in a bit to write a cultural plan about and share it with your staff. Write a cultural plan about who we want to be and kind of how we want to be as employers, right? And you can start with how much we're going to pay, how we manage holidays, how we manage sick days, how we manage going to school and attending school things with the kids, how we manage taking time off to go to the doctor, how we manage working from home, how we manage the company vehicle, right? All that stuff, how we manage lunches, how we do our RDOs, how we manage overtime, how we manage vehicles, I've already said, how we manage tools. Some businesses, some employers expect their tradies to bring their own tools and buy their own tools and equip themselves with tools, right? Carpenters particularly, right? I don't quite understand why, but carpenters are expected to show up with their own toolkit, aren't they? Whereas most other trades don't seem to have that. So, how do we manage tools? How do we manage uniforms? How do we manage safety? How do we manage food? How do we manage the sore back that every fucking tradie seems to get from working a physical job? How do we manage that? How do we manage your healthcare? Do we buy health insurance for you? Do we get our massage therapist in, or our, something? Right? How do we look after our people? So I've mentioned to you all before Simon Sinek's video, haven't I? I've told you about him. He's a leadership guru, and it's related to this. And he did some interviews with US Navy SEALs. And he interviewed one guy in Iraq who had dived in front of his squadron leader or something to save him from a bullet and got shot himself. So he dived in front of his boss to take the bullet for him and save him from being shot at the expense of getting shot himself and risking that he died, right? He didn't die. And Simon interviewed him later and said, what did you do that for? And the response was, he would have done it for me. Right, which ties into what I've just been saying about this reciprocality, right? They want to look after you because they feel like you would look after them or will look after them should the situation be reversed. And I think you need to be thinking about engendering that kind of culture in your business, engendering that kind of feeling with everybody so that we all feel like we're looking after each other. Right? Don't you want that kind of philosophy around the place? So write yourself a cultural plan and make some decisions about how you want to pay. Even, talk about how much you want to pay. Say we'll pay 5% above a certain benchmark that we get from somewhere. We'll pay, $10 an hour more than Bunnings pays, or think about an actual benchmark that you can test every year. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just in terms of the mastery and sense of purpose through that lens, what's your opinion on staff volunteer days and using volunteer work as a way to act out those?
Yeah. So the three things, right? There's the autonomy, the mastery, and the contribution. So I'll come back to the volunteer work, but yes, indeed.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's the autonomy, right? You have to let people go and get on and make their own decisions and not be micromanaged, right? So, you know, I talk a lot about systems and writing the systems down, don't I? Which can feel the opposite. It can feel like you can't think for yourself. You have to follow the system. So I understand there's a bit of a kind of an inconsistency there. Sorry, Helen. Can you hear me now? Is that better? If I lean in, is it better? Is that better? I nearly spilled my water on the keyboard then. I can't hear you at all, Helen.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Thanks.
Okay, I'll lean in. I
think
you wear a headset.
You were the first half of the day. You're getting a bit quiet.
Yeah, maybe I'm just talking more quietly.
I've got you turned up to full volume, but you're not your full volume that you were earlier.
Yeah, okay. Let me have a look. Let's try. It's not giving me anything. How about if I talk now? Is that better? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's better.
All right, let me do that then. I'll lean in forward. Okay, so we've got the autonomy, the mastery, and the making this contribution, this purpose. So if we go with autonomy, you need to let them have their own head a bit and not be micromanaged. If we relate that back to the systems, I think I would be involving everybody in writing the systems, right? Rather than writing the systems and handing them down to your staff, like you've God and Moses on the mountain. You know, you let them be involved in writing them. We write them together. And also, we all know that these are intelligent, capable tradespeople, and we don't really follow a system exactly all the time, right? Because there's room in there for people to figure things out and work them out themselves. So partly get them involved in the systems, and partly foster, you know, a bit of innovation and thinking and problem solving stuff. Okay, so the autonomy bit, I think, is relatively easy, and I think probably I'm coming from the opposite direction and saying you probably need to give them more support than less, right? What tradies often do is you hire a tradie and you think, well, he's intelligent or she's intelligent. They've, you know, done an apprenticeship, got experience, off you go, right? And you just send them out into the field and expect them to do work. So I'm probably expecting you to involve yourselves more with them without danger of micromanaging them, okay? The mastery thing is training, isn't it? Right? You've got to help them get good at their jobs. And that comes partly through, you know, experience and doing the job. It comes partly through training them, providing them with actual training so they get better, and working with them using the frameworks we've got, right? Like your job description and your annual review, right? Let's work with that framework and ask them what training they'd like next, right? So they feel like they're getting good at stuff. They feel like they're getting better at stuff. They feel like they're learning and becoming more valuable in the jobs market. Okay. We talked about investing in them this morning, didn't we? About investing in training and things. So that's important, right? And then we come to this purpose. And I think this is very interesting. And I think there's 3 ways. Let me go back to my iPad. Let's think about some ways that you can be contributing to some higher purpose, right? What words did he use? Ways to contribute to a greater good. Purpose. So there's a few bigger things we can contribute to, right? There's the purpose of the work we do. So you can talk and think about that, right? About the purpose of the work we do. Because we do purposeful work that has a purpose, don't we? Your the work most of you do contributes to sort of human happiness a bit, doesn't it? You're either fixing problems for people, or you're giving them nice things, you know, building them, making their garden nicer or their house nicer or something, right? So there's purpose in that, and you should probably think about how you acknowledge and talk about that at work. All right, so we'll come back to that, but think about how you do that. There's the business. People can contribute to the success of the business that we're in. Right, that's very motivating, right? If they feel they're part of the business and that their efforts at work contribute to the business and its success, and I don't just mean money, right? I mean, it's growth and it's kind of mission to do good work and it's kind of, you know, reputation in town and things like that, right? So think about that. Think about everybody being a part of the business and its success. I don't need an apostrophe there, do I? And then there's another way we can contribute to some kind of greater good, and that's the community. Right? We all live in a community, don't we? Right? We live in a town or a village or what have you. So perhaps through work, your people could contribute to the community they live in by doing some voluntary work. And I'm a huge fan of this, right? So I'm often suggesting to people that you help and encourage and maybe even pay for your people to do some voluntary work. So we did this at Small Fish. I'll show you. We made a voluntary work policy. Oh, sorry. That didn't go well, did it? So somewhere here. Oh, that's not it. Here we go. So we set this up, the Small Fish Volunteer Program, right? So exactly what you said, Min. I encourage you to have a volunteer program, a voluntary work program. So I said to my team, we'll pay you to take I think a day a month or sometime every month to go and do voluntary work. So you can do it on the clock. Now, I know that's easier for me because I'm not recovering my money by their time. But I've said to everybody, go and do some voluntary work and you can do it on work time. Okay? We get to create better communities, we get involved, we contribute something real and of the highest value. Right? So that's our policy. Go and do some stuff. We might ask you to share and take pictures and have fun. Okay? Chris in Byron, he's a builder in Byron. I think he's got 9 carpenters and he likes to do things with the environment. So he gets everyone together and says, let's go and do some bush clearing. And they do it together, right? They go in a group and they use it as a sort of a bit of team building as well, which they all enjoy. Right? So that's an option. Over in New Zealand, in Focus Analytics, we talked to everybody and we said they could take some time off. I think we didn't say every month. I think we said a day every 3 months or something, and they were going to do something together in a group, or maybe they were going to split into 2 groups so they could still have skeleton staff, you know, covering the laboratory. So various people flavor it up their own way, right? So I don't start work till 10 o'clock on Friday because at 8 o'clock I go and do my breakfast, the Brunsbreckie, and I make coffee and toasted sandwiches for the homeless people. And then I get home. So I do 2 hours once a week, right? 1 hour once a week of not working. So I think that helps your people through work make a contribution to a greater good, which is the community they live in. right? They can make a contribution to the business, and you can work with that by sharing the strategy and making sure everyone's, you know, involved in the strategy and understands that what the business strategy is and that they have a part in it, right? So you need to explain to them in your monthly meetings where you share the strategy and progress. You need to be clear that everyone's contributing, don't you? You need to make sure everyone understands how their role, their job role, contributes to the business's success.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Mariette's got a good one. She had an example.
Yeah, go on.
One of Glenn and I's mates has a building company, and his building company is like the camp sleep out for Newcastle, which is like the homeless shelter in Newcastle who does it. Everyone sleeps out. His whole tent slept outside for the weekend, and they got sponsored. And they obviously the company donated a big amount to this cafe. They feed the homeless and stuff in Newcastle. But yeah, they shared it on Facebook, and they did this thing. I think they do it once a year. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a great thing to do, right? So you've got your purpose of the work you do, and you need to talk about that. You've got the purpose of contributing to the growth of the business, and then you've got your purpose of contributing to the community somehow, right? Yeah. And however you encourage it, I think you should, right? So what we said in Small Fish was everyone has to do something. So far, right now, I'm the only one doing any because everyone else got locked down. So I'm going to have to revive it and make sure that everyone gets back on the wagon and does some voluntary work. But I think it's a lovely thing to do. I don't know about you, but if you've ever done any voluntary work, it reminds you of your own privilege and luck in life, which is quite a nice thing to do as well. So I would propose the three things. I would propose you help people to have, you know, this purpose in those three areas, right? Because we all do work that has a purpose that contributes to human happiness in some way, don't we? Just like I do, right? My job makes people feel better, and your jobs all make people feel better. So there's that, right? I think you all do kind of meaningful work. I think it's especially on you to be responsible for holding the idea of this contribution to the business. And you need to do two things, right? And these are part of the system. You need to have, you know, you've got your job descriptions and your reviews, and you can use them to say you've helped, you do good work, which helps us be successful, right? You've got your strategy and the way you can present that once a month. You should be having your company meetings where you all sit together and say, this is what we've been doing in the strategy. And you can acknowledge people's contribution, can't you? You guys work hard in doing the estimating, right? So we're profitable. You guys work hard installing, right? So we make profits, right? So we're doing okay. And then you can talk about recognizing people's contributions. You can do an employee recognition scheme. Is anyone doing one of those? I've talked a little bit about this before, right? We do our Golden Fish Award. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of an employee of the month thing, right? So every month we nominate somebody nominates. So usually the current Golden Fish gets to nominate the next one. So it's quite a nice little passing it around thing, you know, where we say, well, such and such a body did a great job this month. They did this thing, right? And as tradies, you could recognize a specific thing someone did, right? And it could be an admin person or a tradie person, right? They could have solved a problem. They could have helped a customer. They could have, you know, gone above and beyond and thought something through very cleverly, right? I normally like to recognize that kind of behavior, you know, when someone's tried hard or thought for themselves or something. So you could do that, right? You've got an employee recognition system, and then you've got your community. I really think some voluntary work would be nice. You could do one day a year where we all go and do a thing together, right? So that's the cultural plan, isn't it? Right? I think you should write a cultural plan let me go and write the headlines for cultural plan. Cultural plan. How we look after you. So that's pay, holidays, sick. What I'll call it life admin. Right, that's going to the doctors and going to school and things like that. How we manage that. You could write this down, couldn't you? This is how we see it. If you need to take an hour off to go to an event at school or go to the doctors, that's fine. Kind of pay it back sometime. Right, that's my rules for my guys. What else did we say? Safety. I think safety is a big thing there. Public holidays. I'll tell a little story here that someone did. Remember Kate? She had the handyman business down in Melbourne.
Yep.
Well, she had a very negative situation arise that none of us really could have foreseen. They had a guy who decided he wanted to work part-time. So I ended up working Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then there was a public holiday on a Monday, and he was upset because he didn't get the public holiday off. He felt like he'd missed out. Because everyone else got to have Monday off and still get paid, and he was upset that he didn't get to have Monday off and still get paid, even though he didn't work Mondays. So why would you? Right. So I think where I'm going with this is if you've written it down first, everyone knows, and you aren't confronted by this sudden kind of upset person going, "Oh, not fair." Right? And people suffer a lot from not fair, don't they? So how do we look after you? Right? You know. Well, how else do we look after you? I'll call them hygiene issues, if I can spell it. Hygiene factors, right? So, you know, May, what was it? Powerade and cold water. Lunches. Some people will, you know, if there's an office environment, some people will put fruit out and encourage everyone to eat fruit instead of lollies and shit from the pie van, right? You know, you might think like that. You might buy lunch in once a week or once a month, or take them out for lunch or something like that, right? You might do your coffees. You know, everybody likes a coffee. Is everyone buying coffees? Do you buy them coffee every day or once a week or something? You know? If you've got an office, multi-fencing, we talked about this. These guys have got an office and office staff. We talked about a coffee machine. You get a coffee machine so everyone can drink nice coffee without spending $20 a day walking down the street to buy coffee.
We just put a coffee machine in, John.
Yes. It's a great idea, right? For something relatively inexpensive, you get a lot of mileage out of it. You know, you get a lot of people feeling looked after and good for relatively little expense.
Lorraine buys the coffee every Friday out of her own pocket. As a boss, I reckon that's great. Give it up.
Yeah.
All right, so we do that. We do the cultural plan, the how we look after you. And then we think about the autonomy. We think about the mastery. And we think about the contribution. So that Atlassian thing's quite fun, isn't it? Who fancies that? Who fancies saying to their people, right, we're having a day off. We're not going to do any jobs. We're all going to work. You can work on what you want. What would you like to work on that could make the business better? Right, you could do that, couldn't you? I mean, you know, the age-old suggestion box. You get involved in that kind of thing. Job, the beers. Community. So think about that. Why don't you try that? A bit like the Atlassian thing. What opportunities could you give to your people to get a bit more involved in making the business better? You could make it an exercise, couldn't you? You could do it, who does the monthly development day? You do, Barry, right? So you could talk, you could start having forums about what do you think we could do differently and better? What do you suggest? You don't have to take all the suggestions on, do you? But you could start letting people get involved in that stuff. Sometimes when I'm talking to my team, like the other day, we were having a team meeting, and Venus turns around and says, she's been researching how to do something that I didn't really understand. She's gone off and had her own idea, done some research online, and come back and said, I think we need to do this. Right? You want that. You want to encourage that. She's very motivated by having the freedom to do that. So how do you, what's suitable in your business, but how do you let them, get creative about the business and contribute to it that way? So guess what the homework is? Write a little plan, right? Make some decisions about how you want to look after them, about how you're going to give them some autonomy, about how you're going to give them some mastery, right? Because you could write your training rules, couldn't you? We want you to get good. We want to give you this mastery. So we'll invest in training like this. We'll give you your personal mentoring, but we'll also, I don't know, do you send them each on one training course a year? Do you invite people in to train them on stuff? Vendors and things will come in and train them probably for free, won't they? So it's if you think about it, you can probably do it without spending a lot of money.
John?
Yeah.
Do you do anything like that for an extra fee to come in and run, like workshops in a particular area of, what you offer?
Yeah, look, I mean, the honest answer is no, I haven't.
Yeah.
But I could and would, of course.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the past I've been in and joined in with things like that.
Mm.
If you like, I've gone to team meetings and things before.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when I was more local and team meetings were local.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris in Byron is a builder, and he's decided, he's very excited about this, he wants to start a group for builders.
Mm.
Right, a kind of support group for builders for his build, and he's done it. Right, I said, of course I'll support. So I'm probably going to be a guest speaker one time, but he started a little builders group. They're going to meet once a month and share problems and have a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group or something and ask each other questions. First thing they did, they've had one meeting. The first thing they did was they all compared their rates. Yeah,
that's so awesome. Nick and I were only speaking about this in the last week about how amazing it would be if there was one like that for landscapers. It'd be good to probably have a coffee with Chris.
Yeah, when he's here,
catch up. Yeah,
he's really nice.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a bit of a fan, I mean, like you say, if there isn't one for landscapers, maybe start one.
Mm.
There's my Facebook group. There's the private one for us, and I have one for marketing to potential customers. But that's got, I don't know how many landscapers it's got in it, but it's a good forum to start talking to people in.
Mm.
I don't mind if you hunt for your group in there, if you want to do that.
Okay.
I'm happy to share. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So my thought to you is, second homework, write your cultural plan. I said I'd finish by 2 today, so I'm pretty much on time. Quite pleased with that. Do you want to ask me anything or have some discussion about this kind of motivation stuff before we?
Have you got a template?
I'll send one. I'll make one and send one.
Yeah, that's the way you set it up.
Yeah.
Easier for me.
I'll write one. I'll get Melka to type it up, and I'll send it out.
Right.
Day or so. And before I go, I've got a couple of little things to show you. So as you know, I've been getting some business coaching and I've been working on my product. You guys have seen this, haven't you, Helen? Right, I'm not showing you anything. So I've done a couple of things. Okay, I've made what we call a roadmap for my business coaching. Can you all see that? Okay, so what I've done here is I've tried to modularize, make modules for the stuff I teach, and say these are the things you should be doing at the different stages in your business. Okay, so this one is for project trades and builders, and this one is for another one is for maintenance trades. I have another one for maintenance trades somewhere, probably there. Okay, I'm going to share them with you and put them on the website somewhere so you can all have a look, but I'd like to just explain kind of how they work. Okay, so this is for maintenance trades. So you're a small fish, a medium fish, or a big fish. I'm going to start using fish things a bit more because it's funny. Okay, so you'll just have to forgive me for that, I'm afraid. So when you're little, whenever you're less than 40K a month in revenue, you need to be focusing on some of the basic stuff, right? You're scrambling a bit because it's all a bit informal. You don't have many systems yet. And you really need to focus on getting work in, right? Don't you? You need to focus on getting some work in and on money and making some profit. So we're thinking like that, right? We're thinking your marketing groundwork, getting clear on your, why you're good and your target market, and perhaps being a bit disciplined about that and letting go of some of the markets, right? We're thinking about doing some basic website stuff and the Google My Business, the cheap stuff, probably basic relationship marketing, maybe some direct marketing if business customers are you go. We're probably going to stick your price up if we can, aren't we? That's my favorite thing. And you might be doing a flat rate price list, Barry. That's certainly something we focused on, isn't it?
Yep.
Right. So that's for getting the work in. The middle column's for getting the work done, and the column on the right is for the people, the team. So we're looking at documenting some systems, a job management system, and then managing the money and understanding the money properly. And then for you and the team, we're looking at managing your time a bit better, spending more time on the business. We're not really doing much with the team yet, just the daily huddle. We'll do confidence one, I call that. We'll help you with your business and sales confidence. And you should have a weekly operations meeting so you're communicating properly. Right, and then as we move on, as you get a bit bigger, we start to think about different things, right? We're looking at Dext and Zero, for example. We're looking at a training program and the systems properly for there. We're looking at an appointment scheduler. Right? That idea of an operational unit is important, isn't it? When we're growing, right? We're starting to grow now, aren't we? Starting to think about growing and build a bigger team, getting you off the tools. We're going a different type of confidence for you, right? We're looking at job descriptions and reviews. So we're starting to build out the systems for the business now as your team gets bigger, right? Looking at an admin resource, and we're starting to measure job profitability. And now we're getting serious about your safety system and saying, look, you're getting bigger now. You can't wing it anymore. Right, we're having that monthly company meeting and the recognition program. We're going to start using the hiring system. And then as you get bigger again, right, as you're at more than 80K a month, you're a big fish now. We might be thinking about spending proper serious money on things like Google AdWords and the digital marketing. You might be doing relationship marketing in a bigger way, right? A much more stringent and disciplined way. At first, we're just going to get on the phone and make some calls. But by the time you're above 80K a month and you've got people, you need to be more disciplined. Right, we're going to do a position benchmark. So we're going to compare you to other people and know what you like. Right? We might offload sales and estimating to somebody else. We might do another price hike now we're bigger and we've got more overheads. Right? We might try and get you to 5 teams, 5 operational units, full-time admin person. We might talk about the money management system, the different bank accounts and the cash flow forecasts and things, and the scheduling system. And then over on the people, right, we're going confidence 3 in time management. You're, managing a business now, right? We're looking at some self-care and how we look after you. And we're also maybe thinking about what your exit plan is, what you're going to do with all this money you're making now, your wealth plan, and then the culture plan. Okay, now I've split these up into the 3 sizes, the small, medium, and bigger fish, just because I think that's where you need to be focusing. You're going to shift your focus from, making sure there's money to starting to put the systems in place. That's really how I see the journey. Did that all make sense? Did you like it?
Yeah.
If I show you the builders one, it's not very different. So the project trades and builders, it's a bit different really, only at the bottom one, the small fish, is different size, right? If you're a builder, you're less than 80K a month, you're small. So the size is different, right? Because projects are bigger money. And then the only differences are things like the site diary, the sales process map. The sales process is more complicated. So really we're talking about differences in how you manage sales more than anything else. Job profitability is important. But mostly I'm looking at your sales process and picking your market and building your price book. And then as you get bigger, offloading the estimating to somebody else rather than just, for example, scheduling. That making sense? We might have 3 teams. Look, when you're 200K a month, so you might run 3 jobs at once if you're a builder. Is that useful? Is that a useful way of looking at the coaching?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good. Well, I'm happy to share. I'm going to think about how I present it. I might write a training on it rather than just kind of blurt it at you like this. I've got another thing to show you as well, which is a little bit of fun, right? My coach has what he calls a black belt system, a belt system. We've got the small fish scale system. So when you're little, right, and you're either a builder or a trade, right? If you're less than 20K a month, if you're a trade, and if you're less than 50K a month, if you're a builder, you're a Nemo. And then you get to be a bigger type of fish as you grow bigger, right? You get to be a sardine, then a snapper, and then a barracuda and a salmon, a barramundi and a tuna and a shark, right? And that was just me having fun with different types of fish. So when you're up to 200K a month, you're a shark, eating all the other fishes in the sea. So I'm going to have a bit of fun with this, right? I'm going to start looking for things to send you and ways for us to commemorate this. But the idea is we mark and notice as you grow. So we'll just have a bit of fun probably when we do these sessions. I might start, with your permission, I might start asking you to submit how big you are, and we'll decide which fish you are. And of course, we're looking at how you can grow, how you can progress, how you can scale and get bigger. So I'm looking for you if you're starting to turn around and go, yeah, I want to be a salmon next, and things like that, okay? Think that's fun? Yeah. I'm looking at, I don't know what we'll do. We might have a poster and a thing that you move on it or something, so you can talk about which fish you are today. All right, well, that's it. I just wanted to show that to you really for a bit of fun. That's where I've been spending some of my time lately. And I think I might finish. Anybody want to ask me anything or talk about anything? Or are you happy to go to work?
Yeah, sorry.
I
think it was, all very helpful and positive information. But then I was thinking, how can we fit much more in time-wise with our staff with, like I said, a couple of apprentices at trade school, different days. We do an hour and a half to 2 hour toolbox talk once a week with them, just for updating on tools they use or machines or anything, and then we sign all that off. We do our monthly lunch. It's a lot. And then pull together more.
The monthly company meeting, you do it at your monthly lunch.
Yeah.
You just hijack 20 minutes of that to share the strategy with them and say, this is what we've been up to the last month. This is what revenue was and how we've grown. And this is who's getting the golden screwdriver award this month. You do that in that meeting. You don't need to take any extra time. The volunteer stuff doesn't necessarily have to be done in work time, right? I understand you're worried about time, right? You're worried that you're paying them and that you already pay them and they're not on the tools and they're eating into your margins and being generally damaging to either money or your ability to service your clients, right? Look, it's a reasonable concern. I think try not to be too prescriptive. Like, it's easy for me, you know, my team are in the Philippines, so if I give them a day off to go and do some voluntary work, it doesn't really cost me much. So it's different. You know, you can, that's why I said things like, you know, maybe give everyone one day a year where you will do it. Maybe you think of a way that suits you and your business and gives them the ability to make a contribution to the community without necessarily it costing you loads of, you know, paid time. So maybe it's one day a year where we just go, fuck it, we'll do it one day a year. Maybe it's Friday afternoons. And sometimes instead of the fuck it day, we do some work, you know, we go and volunteer.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just something you encourage them to do in their own time. But there's no rules here, right? You know, that's my view on how you could do it, and copying what I've seen on the videos like that. But there's any number of ways you can help them, you know, have this feeling that they're contributing to a greater thing.
Yeah.
I do hear your concerns. Everyone has those same concerns, really.
It's more time, I think, too, with a small team.
Yeah, because then it can impact your ability to serve your customers, right? If you take too much time away from the work that's needed. So I'm hearing you. I don't have an easy answer, right? The usual answer is it's worth making this investment. You get better performance out of your people, and they're happier, so it's worth it. That's really the best answer I can give. It feels very difficult to do, but it's worth doing. All right, I might finish this up. Happy Monday, everybody. So, what about if we go, do you reckon you can have job descriptions by Thursday and then culture plan by next week? Should we do that? Should we look at job descriptions? So you've all got to write a job description for the next job you want to fill, even if you're not hunting at the moment, okay? And we'll review them and compare notes on Thursday. And then next week, we'll compare culture plans. All right. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. See you guys.
Bye.
All right.